Alright, YouTube, so here it is. Third quarterfinals of 2v2 World Cup, Brazil versus Vietnam over here. Here is the draft. The games will start in a very, very short amount of time. Vietnam is picking Scandinavia and Chaos Pit as their home maps. Ghost Lake and Team Islands will be the home maps of Brazil. Arena and Golden Pit are the bans for the two teams. Civilization-wise, we do have a Gods ban for Vietnam. Interesting. We have seen how strong Gods can be on Ghost Lake. And on the other side, Italians ban for Brazil on Team Islands. I guess they want to force their opponents to play something different on a water map. I approve the water map selection for Brazil, because neither ACCM nor Bacti are amazing water players. They're good, but probably not as good as Miguel and Dogao, who are going to play for Brazil. What else do we have? We have Teutons, Portuguese for the water map, Japanese is potentially there. We will have Franks for Arabia most likely, like Franks and Ethiopians seems to be the likely scenario. In fact, Ethiopians are picked quite late. Brazil focuses on Vikings, which I believe will be used for Team Islands. Lithuanians will also be in their hands. The spectator delay for today is going to be longer, I believe. So it is 5 minutes of time, if I'm not mistaken, which means that I think the game is going to launch in a short amount of time, I believe. Yeah, indeed, they're going to launch the game in a couple of minutes, but there is going to be the alert being blurred. And that's Sir Gold. I thank you so much for the 20 euros of donation. I greatly appreciate it. I'm happy that so many people are interested in what I do and how I do it. So, since they haven't started the game just yet, we have a little bit of time to analyze the civilization and map selections for both teams over here. We will have, as I said, probably Vikings and something else for a water map. The lineup makes me believe that we could see a landing, like with Mongols, for example. But Vikings will definitely be on Team Islands for Brazil. Ghost Lake is a map where Indians have been picked very, very frequently, but I still disapprove Indians being used there. Indians, Britons are the most meta pick on Ghost Lake. I don't like the Indian selection there. I would prefer the Britons. Like, Briton pick is great on Ghost Lake, but I don't like the Indians pick if that's their plan. Chaos Pit is somewhere where Magyars can be very useful. Magyars, Slavs, Magyars, Aztecs can be great because Aztecs are one of the civs that can do Man-at-Arms opening on Chaos Pit because of the extra gold they start with. But Magyars, Slavs could also work over there. Lithuanians could also be very, very good for Chaos Pit. In fact, to a point where you might actually substitute Magyars with Lithuanians, even though I would personally prefer Magyars on Chaos Pit. But you can actually go for Lithuanians there as well. Scandi, I guess Huns work wherever you want them. They're really just so general purpose that they can be used for any map. Mongols is probably their Scandi pick then, which raises the question of what are you going to do on the water map. Probably Malay then is your bet. So Vikings Malay for Team Islands. I assume that either Lithuanians or Magyars will be picked on Chaos Pit. Indians, Britons are probably going for Ghost Lake. Mongols and something else goes for Scandi. Could be anything, to be honest, but you're probably looking for something that can take a good water fight. Or if you're using the Mongols to do a water fight, then something that can have a good early punch like Mayans would be reasonable. Aztecs is an interesting selection from the Brazilians. They're missing Thumb Ring, which is kind of bad for a long-term archer, so I wouldn't love Aztecs on Arabia. So maybe you are saving Mayans for Arabia. But yeah, one thing I'm noticing is that Brazil might be a little bit too low on archer saves if they go Vikings Malay on Team Islands, because they will need, like, they will have Britons and they will have Mayans. They don't need an archer save for Chaos Pit, but I guess Aztecs could work on Arabia, but it depends type of a thing. Incas are banned from Vietnam. They want to make sure that they don't get Inca rushed on Chaos Pit. Franks and Ethiopians are the guaranteed pick for Arabia. For the water map, probably Portuguese, Berbers, or Portuguese, Japanese is likely. Chaos Pit, Khmer could be a super cool civilization there, and Teutons, like Khmer and Teutons would be amazing. And one of the rare occasions where Khmer aren't banned, if you look at Khmer on the statistics sheet, you are going to see that Khmer by far is the most banned civil tournament. It has a 69% win rate, so that ban is completely justified, but it is by far the most banned civilization. And if you also look at how many times it was sniped and combine the two, it gives up an even larger number. So it's 28 times banned and sniped combined. The second highest is Mayans, which is 24, but it was mostly rather a snipe rather than a global ban. So global ban usually means that that team really doesn't want to play against it, whereas snipe kind of refers to, okay, we're just gonna ban a certain civ from our opponent that we don't want to play against in this particular set. So global bans represent, like when someone global bans a civilization that frequently, that usually represents that that civ is something that they really are uncomfortable playing against because it's super, super strong. So as I said, they will be playing with a 5-minute spectator delay. Not sure what's the cause of this, because so far they have been using 3-minute spectator delays, or 2 minutes in the tournament. So I'm not sure why they're going for 5 now, but I guess it doesn't change anything, and all we have to do is just wait out here. The rest of the games, it's not going to be a major issue, and the reason why is because well, the reason why, what did I start to say? I completely forgot the second half of the sentence. Sorry, I was like reading the caster's Discord to see if any information is up. But yeah, whatever I wanted to say, it probably wasn't that super important. So let's see what we have in terms of civilizations. And as I said, Magyars are probably a very, very good pick for Chaos Pit. You have cheap scouts, you have the extra attack, super good for the scouts play of Chaos Pit. But we are seeing Magyars being used more and more on Arabia as kind of a power spike type of a cavalry civ. It has Paladin, and this is a very, very frequent matchup as well. Ethiopians and Franks versus Magyars. Mayans is not so frequent on Arabia, but that's mostly because Mayans are very frequently sniped. I actually think that this is a very, very balanced and interesting civ matchup here. So you're gonna have Magyars, which will have the Paladin, which will have better power spikes because they will get the +2 attack, they will have the cheaper scouts, so you can play a more aggressive feudal age play with them. But Franks will have the better eco. Other side, Mayans will probably be able to squeeze out a better eco, mostly because they don't need to invest that much into army, and Mayans are actually a very, very decent way to deal with Ethiopians, especially if you can transition to plumed archers. So this is a super interesting civ matchup. For multiple reasons. What I also like about Mayans is that Mayans can always go for a relatively fast Imperial, like 70-ish villagers, and go for obsidian arrows that just melt buildings. That type of a thing, it makes them super dangerous even on Arabia. So you don't necessarily need to bring it into post-imp if you can do so much damage in like early Imperial with the Mayan player. But here it is, game number 1 in this best of 5, in between Brazil and Vietnam. On the right side we'll have Brazil. Miguel is playing Magyars in red, the guy who's playing Mayans in yellow, and the left side of the map is Ethiopians in blue, and we're gonna have Bhakti as Franks in green. So, as I said, I feel like the Civ matchups are rather balanced over here, but I feel like it's more in the hands of Miguel to use Magyars well in terms of the cavalry civilization plays. By the way, we have cavalry civ versus cavalry civ and archer civ versus archer civ. So cavalry players on the south, archer players on the north. So the thing is that with Franks, you're generally going to have a good eco, whereas for Magyars, they rely more on their power spikes to get the early advantage in like feudal age with the extra attack and the cheaper scouts, get the advantage in early castle age with the extra attack as well on the knights available. So that's really where we should be looking at. And we have a laming attempt coming in here from Bhakti. You cannot lame the huntables like the elephants with the scout, but you can actually bring in the scout and try to steal some sheep, and especially against Magyars that as I said, don't have a super amazing eco, it could actually be pretty devastating. Now, it seems like no sheep has been found over here by Bacti, because the 2 remaining sheep that Miguel didn't gather is on the top, but Miguel didn't scout them. So this is going to be a little bit interesting to look at. Miguel is missing those sheep by just a couple of tiles. Not ideal. I guess he's going to be able to find them, and it's not really a massive thing right now, but something that he's going to have to scout for. Looking at the maps of the players, we're going to have Bacti with what is an acceptable map, if you ask me. I feel like you can just do very, very small voles and be fine for the time being, like vo here. This would secure the gold. You will place your barracks and stable over here, let's say, and that kind of covers this arc, and you can just vol like this, and vol to the TC. It's a very, very small vol, and you will have to be able to expand it over time, but for feudal age defense, that is completely satisfactory for Bacti. Secures the barriers, secures the gold, and he's gonna have a relatively safe wood line as well. Now, you got ACCM on the other side. He is gonna be playing 4 on wood, as you would expect him to do. That wood line is actually pretty neat, nicely positioned at the back. Gold mine, not so great. In fact, all of the gold mines are in the front. This might be the best gold mine for ACCM because it's in the direction of Bacti and not the direction of the opponent, but these are kind of awful gold mines. You got Dogao coming in with an eagle here. He sees the primary stone, so you should know that the opponent's TC is nearby, sees the straggler, and avoids running into the TC fighter by a narrow margin over here. Nice jukes from the yellow eagle over there. So, the berries can actually be defended, but I'm not a big fan of this gold mine. I feel like, especially with the way ACCM is voling, and here is the eagle, Dogao wants to try and pick that Voyager off. ACCM is here with the scout. Dogao could try to commit to this, or just run around and try to pick that Voyager off. A Dark Age Eagle should beat a Dark Age Scout. However, eventually, when the Voyager is pulled, ACCM should win this fight. Still, this is a win for Dogao, and the reason why is because he can go back home and heal up his eagle, whereas ACCM cannot heal that scout, which is super important. And we haven't talked about the fact that ACCM has this Voyager out here, which could have been a little bit exposed to aggression. Dogao is coming in here with what is a premium rush. Let's see if ACCM is able to scout that. And as I said, ACCM's berries are very close to the TC, so that shouldn't really be drushable, but this wood line is quite exposed to a drush from the right side if ACCM is not paying attention. ACCM, already low HP on that scout, and I don't think he's gonna find the barracks in time. Dogao is already coming out with the militia, and this could very well be a drush FC from Dogao, who has loom on those Voyagers, so those Voyagers will not be killed by the scout. Dogao's base is actually okay-ish if he uses this gold. This is not an ideal gold for him. This one is even worse, however. And let's see if Dogao is gonna... Oh, that's bad from Dogao. He's gonna reveal his militias over here just by a tiny bit. Not sure if ACCM paid attention to that, but I think he did. I think he did. If Dogao just sent those militias right forward or just kept them inside the barracks, I don't think that ACCM would have noticed those militias. And now ACCM indeed preemptive defensive walls on the food line. Anyways... Dogao is gonna do some heavy voling over here. And there is actually a hole here. So that is something that Dogao is gonna have to plug in. Otherwise, there could be stuff coming into his base. He's the one that usually tells his students when he's coaching that you should always check for holes. Just send this Voyager to the outside. And I believe he knows about that hole. Indeed, he does. And as I said, I think this is gonna be his gold mine for time being. The drush is incoming. ACCM's walls are up, so there should be no damage done here. Meanwhile, for Bacti, interesting wall layout over here, instead of just one straight wall. And he's gonna do some big L-shaped walls here. Not sure if I'm a fan of this. I mean, it secures him some ground, but it's a big investment, and like, do you gain anything by having this part of your base? I'm not 100% sure. Anyways, there is a scout here coming in from Miguel, who is almost up to feudal, so he could try killing a Voyager here, because he's gonna have the extra attack, even though it's 2 Voyagers, so it's a little bit tricky micro, but if you can isolate one of those Voyagers, you might be able to pick it off. It's something that I think Miguel's gonna commit to, and Miguel is not gonna get the Voyager kill. Back to his own, like his old shape, and he's gonna save that Voyager. In that case, that was a great fight for Bacti over there. The walls will be up for Dogao just in time, as Dogao is playing for Drush FC with Mayans. The Drush here isn't really doing a lot of damage to ACCM's eco right now. And speaking of Bacti's quick walls over here, I feel like Bacti definitely took a step back compared to his Wobbly form in the first year of Definitive Edition. However, I feel like Bhakti is back in his old shape. So, Bhakti has been playing probably the best D tournament so far in his career. Anyways, we are gonna have Voz coming up from Miguel, but a little bit late over here. So he's gonna have to keep his scouts back at home to defend. That's actually a misplay from Miguel, because you want to be aggressive with the Magyars player. We talked about the fact that Franks just have a much better eco than Magyars do, so with Magyars you want to be able to capitalize on being able to use those scouts, and let's see if Miguel can actually quick wall that villager. Bhakti was able to do it against him. Miguel is looking for the villager. He's not gonna be able to get it, although if you outrun those scouts, turn back and kill that villager, you could still do it because it's one hit, but it appears that Bhakti is gonna bail out, so none of these players are losing a will here, and it seems like it's a straight archers build from ACCM, but I feel like this is massively benefiting Dogao because it's an easy rush FC for him right now. There is actually a hole here. This is something that Dogao might have not noticed, although I think that this barracks, this house, and this straggler tree closes this gap. But it's weird to look at. Anyways, scouts are coming in here, and as I said, I feel like Miguel was very, very late walling, and Bhakti's scouts are inside his base. There is a spearman supporting as well. Spearman is just queued up by Miguel, and I have to say that maybe the walls were a little bit too ambitious for Miguel. It's hard to defend this gold mine, but honestly, for Miguel, he shouldn't have bothered defending that one in Feudal Age. He should have gone for this safe gold mine, and kind of just wall like this, instead of these long walls, because right now he's unable to finish those walls. When the Spearman arrives, he should be fine. Spearman is here, chilling on the farm. But at this point, you want to be able to just scare those guys away, and this is great for Bhakti, because Bhakti has free horse color, he's gonna have a great eco going, so he can just sit back, chill, and kind of progress towards Castle Age, because he has already delayed quite a bit on Miguel. I like Bhakti's play here so far, and there's going to be archers coming to Miguel, who, as I said, I feel like it's a little bit too ambitious to defend this gold mine, and you could be much better off defending this one, which is a lot safer. You could have walled like this, and this instead. Much safer, and it's easier to wall off. Anyways, everybody is gonna be walled over here. Archers will be able to clean up Dogao's militias here, but he's gonna get an archer kill. I mean, at this point for those militias, getting an archer kill is completely fine. Scouts go down from ACCM, and here you're gonna have to target the spearman if you are ACCM to pick it off, and the scouts will have to jump on top of those archers. Defensive tower coming in here from Miguel. Once again, I massively disagree with his decision to go for this gold mine instead of this one, and he knows about this. Because the problem right now is that he already went for a defensive tower, so he's not really going to be able to get 2 TCs up when he's reaching Castle Age, and the disaster is coming in here. Boy, oh boy, this is why you don't go for such contestable gold mines. This should be a lesson to everybody, that if you have a gold mine like this, it's a longer walking distance to the TC, but just look at how much Miguel lost trying to defend this gold mine. He's down to 28 villagers, so at least he's not completely dead, but he's definitely gonna be behind compared to Bhakti if you look at him right now. Like, he's gonna have to plug these holes in, and he will have a bunch of scouts on the field that probably won't be able to do any damage to Bhakti unless Bhakti screws it up. And look at that. Bhakti almost ready to click up into Castle Age. Miguel, not even close. Of course, this is still in the hands of Dogao to turn around, and remember that ACCM lost quite a lot of archers. So if Dogao comes in here with Ethiopian, actually those are just Mayan crossbows, so it's slightly better for ACCM in this case, but if Dogao gets Botkin on those crossbows and out micros ACCM here, ACCM could lose some villagers, and ACCM had to go for his own defensive tower as well. So maybe Dogao can actually get Brazil back into this series, but it's going to be hard, because the problem is that the cavalry player is usually a lot more important than the archer player. So speaking of this, the fact that Bhakti is progressing towards Castle Age is probably a lot more influential than Dogao being in Castle Age over here. Anyways, second TC is coming up for Dogao, and you should never underestimate Dogao's macro, who's an exceptional player with that. And this could be a good aggression from Miguel and Dogao if those crossbows get in there, especially if those scouts can jump on top of those archers. And this is exactly what Miguel and Dogao have to go for. Miguel's scouting does... I think he could know about this wood line, so they could pressure that, and they probably know that there is a wood line over here, because there is no lumberjacks here, and there is walls here, so you would assume there is a wood line here, and probably gold inside as well. And the scouts and the crossbows together will actually be pretty useful at getting through the walls. Let's see if Bhakti garrisons the TC, because if not, all of the damage that he has done to Miguel will be undone, and I feel like that's actually a legit trade for Miguel. He loses one scout, but what this gives him is a chance to break through these walls, and that's huge, and now you can jump those archers with your scouts, which is perfect for Brazil. You want to be able to kill ACCM's archer numbers, and you have everything that you need for that. By the way, Miguel's castle age isn't that bad, considering how much damage he took and how many scouts he invested in, but, you know, it's cheap Magyar scouts. You want to trade your scouts over here off to the archers as much as possible with the support of the crossbows, just to make sure that ACCM cannot really have a good amount of crossbows on the field. And here is Dogao pushing the wood line. He's without ballistics because he went for the eco approach, but he's still pressuring the wood line of ACCM over here. And as I said, I feel like if those archers go down, this is a great position now for Brazil, because even though Bhakti will be able to get better knight numbers on the field, he's gonna be only with +1 defense. And on the other side, if you're gonna look at the knights from Miguel, he's gonna have +2 attack, and he's going triple stables, so they want to be really aggressive in early castle age here. I am okay with that decision, because they probably know, as Miguel's gonna have to bring the spearman back, these crossbows are dead, +2 armor coming in now for Bhakti. But as I said, if Miguel is able to squeeze in +2 defense here, he's gonna have much better knights, and triple stables is gonna be able to overrun the Frankish player here, but they have to be very, very aggressive. That's the key here. Crossbows from Dogao are really being annoying to ACCM, and honestly, I can see Brazil doing this. Because now it's triple stable knights production. Honestly, looking at Miguel's eco, he might be able to sustain production, but this TC shouldn't actually be a thing for him. 2 TCs, 3 stables, Magyar's eco is not gonna happen, and you can see that now the stables are idle, so you can question if 3 TCs or 3 stables was something that he can actually pull off. He might be able to keep all 3 of them working with 1 TC, but probably not 2. Anyways, the guy's gonna have ballistics, and remember that ACCM's wood lines are under heavy pressure. This one has 1 villager on it, and this one is just getting constantly pressured. Knights are on the way to deal with those crossbows, but I feel like at this point the guy is confident trading off these crossbows, because this buys time for Miguel to bring in the knights and potentially push the gold mine for ACCM. They're apparently trying to double ACCM over here and not Bhakti. Crossbows falling back home right now. ACCM is up to castle age, but he is not going for a crossbow upgrade. I wonder if that's just a misclick, but it could be a very costly misclick. He has Botkin, but he had 4 archers queued up on one of those ranges, and now he's going for crossbows, but that's a disaster for him. Losing 3 archers that could have been crossbows already with Ethiopians, and even +1 defense. And as I said, this is the knight pile over here, and if Miguel just runs into that wood line, that's going to be a disaster for ACCM, and this is where the power of Magyar knights come in. It's +2/+2, and Bhakti is gonna have to try and help ACCM's base, and ACCM's wood line is abandoned. That's looking very bad for Vietnam now. It's looking awfully bad, and I feel like Brazil is playing very, very aggressively, just like they should. And remember that the army is very, very cheap for Dogao, so being able to just pop out those archers here still doesn't mean that he cannot progress towards Imperial. And the Magyars player being kind of the meat shield over here with the +2/+2 knights, and just forcing Bhakti and ACCM to keep fighting here. And you add the cheaper army for Mayans, and the fact that Dogao has 61 villagers, by far the best in the game, you will end up with Dogao potentially being the first player to imp, getting Arblast, getting Obsidian Arrows, and potentially winning the game that way. This is a very, very good scenario right now for Brazil. ACCM is under heavy pressure, and he's down to 41 villagers, which is lower than Miguel's villager count. Miguel, I'm still not confident about his plan here. I mean, double TC's idled. I feel like it would have been just better to have 1 TC and just try to keep that consistently working. And now they jump ACCM's gold mine. ACCM has no gold income, which means he cannot make archers. They are simply just gonna get outnumbered over here, because there is going to be crossbows and knights versus potentially just knights, even though those are Ethiopian crossbows with +1 defense. But Mayans have cheaper crossbows, so numbers you would expect them to be slightly larger for Dogao, and I feel like this was actually a satisfactory fight here for Brazil. Dogao is going for the full Mayan archer play here in Castle Age, sends in 4 ranges. Now he's adding to stone as well, so he's gonna have a castle coming in the near future as they're trying to intercept the reinforcements coming from Bakhti. 71 villagers for Dogao. He's playing out of his mind here. I feel like Miguel is doing a decent job in his role as well, especially if he can more or less keep pace with Bakhti's eco, because the scary part is Bakhti's eco for Brazil. Bakhti is also very, very heavy on eco with 61 villagers, and the cavalry player could still turn things around. But here's the next step. There isn't really a lot of crossbows on the field from ACCM and they're slow, so you're just gonna try and push Bakhti over here. Bakhti might have enough to delay this aggression until the crossbow reinforcements arrive though, but this is the two-pronged assault from Brazil though. Look at this. They drag away all the crossbows and knights from ACCM towards the base of Bakhti, and Dogao is sneaking those crossbows to the back of ACCM's wood line, knowing that the Vietnamese players will be focused on this fight instead of this fight. And here come the crossbows. They aren't really going to inflict a lot of damage, even though they could definitely do some killing on this wood line, for example. They're just trying to take down the stables and delay Bakhti's progress towards more knights. Tumbling is on the way for Dogao, and apparently he's not gonna kill any buildings, but he can try getting through this spoil-side wall. And he's already idling this wood line, which is, I think, a massive achievement once again. And we are gonna have crossbows coming in here as well to this wood line. Right now, ACCM is 1 villager on wood, which is not something that you want to see when we're talking about the archer player, especially with tumbling in. This is looking pretty good for Brazil right now, and I feel like Bakhti has to do some heavy carrying here to come back into this game. He's gonna have to really capitalize on him having a good eco with a cavalry civ, but it's going to be hard because he's under heavy pressure, and in order to be able to capitalize on that better eco, he kind of needs to get into Imperial, get to good numbers, but that's not gonna happen when you are missing +2 attack against those Magyar Knights, and you're also constantly forced to take fights. I think this is also a satisfactory fight for Brazil. And the reason why this is a good fight for Brazil is because they're keeping the cavalry numbers from Bakhti very low. In fact, if you look at this fight, this is pretty much, I would dare to say that this is even a good fight for Brazil, that they might even win. It's close, but honestly, if you look at the numbers here, I think this is basically an even trade, which is perfect for Brazil in a scenario where ACCM is massively behind compared to Dogao. And honestly, Miguel is not that far behind compared to Bakhti. And remember that Bakhti doesn't have the +2 attack on those knights, so whatever fight Miguel is taking against Bakhti, that's actually going to be a little bit more cost efficient. And also, these crossbows are actually eating the knights. Looking at Dogao, he is gonna go Imperial. This is the danger. And apparently he's also gonna castle drop these gold mines. This is a beautiful castle spot, something that ACCM is gonna have no idea about. But if you think about the fact that this is ACCM's only goal that he will be comfortably able to access, he can go back over here, but that's kind of exposed. He's gonna lose both of his secondary gold mines over here to Dogao, who is, as I said, very close to going into Imp. And with Imp, you get Obsidian Arrows, you get Orbs, and you just steamroll ACCM. That's going to be the plan. So, unless Bakhti can go Imperial himself and go Cavalier, this isn't gonna work for Vietnam. Because the Arbalasts will melt the Knights, so you need Cavalier to deal with that one. And I don't think that Bakhti is able to get to Imperial here because he has to keep adding Knights here. Once again, look at the crossbow numbers for Dogao. The cheap Mayan crossbows working out so well. And you can see why Mayans are so frequently banned on Arabia in his tournament. It's, if you combine bans and snipes, it's the second most banned sniped civ in the tournament after Khmer. And here is Obsidian Arrows even before Imperial. But I mean, you can already start melting buildings! Dogao, that's actually an awful move from him. That's a disaster move. He actually gave a perfect surround to Bakhti over here, which would delay this push quite considerably. He's trying to fall back to the safety of his castle, but he lost quite a lot of numbers because that was a very, very good surround from Bakhti over there. But if you look at the unit numbers, where is Bakhti's cavalry? Nowhere. Because Bakhti, he needs to fight against just better knights. And he isn't able to capitalize on his better eco. It's 44 on food for Bacti, only 29 for Miguel. But that extra attack is helping so immensely. And now, ACCM is down to 20... What 20? It's 10 military. Bacti also 10 military. And Dogao is at 40 military going into Imperial. And maybe they will consider going for Bacti instead. Knowing that ACCM just lost the majority of his army. We're going to have an outpost in this corner. Because the trade corners are also interesting to look at. ACCM is trying to check if Dogao is already setting up trade. And yes, the Brazilians are also working on trade. Right now you want to keep those archers alive though. Because if Dogao loses his army over here, the Imperial Age advantage isn't going to show at all. So you just camp the hill and keep that army alive. That's basically the scenario for Brazil. Dogao almost up to Imperial. And that should be Arbalest. And remember, these are already Obsidian Arrow crossbows. And this is the old patch. So these are really strong over here. And they're just going to steamroll Bacti now. I think this is over. Once Arbalest and Bracer kicks in, especially considering Dogao could just sell some stone or wood to buy chemistry, they will just jump that TC. I think they could go for the stables first, just for making sure there's no reinforcements coming in. But Bacti taps out. After Miguel has taken a significant beating in Fuel Age, I feel like Dogao has executed the Drush FC very well, and credits to Miguel, because given the damage that he suffered from at the beginning, I think he was doing his job very well, just getting the knights out on the field, and constantly forcing ACCM and Bacti to fight. That was the key, that Bacti always had to fight and try and save ACCM, and because of that, Bacti couldn't go imp and get cavaliers. Like, if you look at the resources, Bacti wasn't very far away from imping. It's just a matter of, you always had to fight, you always lost your cavalry numbers, and you had to help your teammate here, whereas Dogao was able to get into Imperial with a cheap army that he has, and it's just Arbs. I mean, maybe even without Arbs, this would be over, because these knights are better than the knights from Bacti, and there are crossbows supporting with Obsidian Arrows. Even without Arbalest, this might be game over here, but especially once Arb kicks in, it's super omega over. And with that, game number 1 is in the hands of Brazil. I didn't have any predictions before this series, but my prediction for this one was 3-1 for Brazil. Vietnam is a good team, but there are some concerns with the consistency level. There are some consistency issues for Miguel as well. But, I mean, Dogao has been playing some of his best gameplay in recent memory. Easily a top 8 player right now is Dogao, and Miguel, I feel like if he can get back to his old shape, he is also around the top 10 level. We'll see if that happens. Look at how much food and gold Bacti had compared to Miguel. It's just a matter of, you are going to have those upgrades for free, and that helps immensely, because Bacti never got those upgrades, the +1 and +2 attack. So, despite the fact that he had a lot more resources gathered than Miguel, he couldn't really take great engagements because he had the numbers but not the quality of the units. That +2 attack helps quite massively in knight versus knight fights. Also helps when you want to kill ACCM's crossbows. And Dogao, insane macro, well executed Drush FC into crossbows. Nicely played by Brazil, and we will have game number 2 coming up pretty shortly. Now, they haven't started the game yet, and that actually concerns me because we are going to have 5-minute spectator delay. So it's going to be some waiting, I believe, in between the games. But anyways, we're going to Scandinavia. So that is the first home map of Vietnam, I believe. Yes, that's correct. Scandi is their first home map. So let's take a quick look at the civs that they will have. Franks and Ethiopians are gone. Mayans, Magyars also gone. So Scandi, I guess Japanese is a legitimate pick over here, and probably Japanese Berbers. And the reason why I pick Berbers is because you want to counter Mongols. Mongols is almost guaranteed to be a pick for Brazil. Malay could be considered, because if you can secure the water, especially if you have your backwater, like you need a map generation where the water is at the back of the players rather than both teams having access to both water If you have a backwater generation, Malay can be insanely good with the fish boom. But it could actually go for Team Islands as well, we'll see. But Mongols should be a very, very confident pick here. For Brazil and Aztecs, maybe... Mongols will eventually act as an archer civ, but on Scandi you don't necessarily need those very, very, very standard archer plus cavalry type layout. We could see Lithuanians, although I feel like that goes for Chaos Pit. The tricky thing is that with Mongols, you still probably want to do fishing. But you probably want to progress towards Mangudai, so you don't really want to do the water fighting part. Which means that you need a civ that is good on water fighting. I'm thinking Huns could be good if you keep Vikings and Malay for Team Islands. Yeah, I feel like it could be Huns Mongols. And then Huns can be your cavalry civ to support, does have siege rams, pretty decent at playing on water fights as well in early games. So Huns Mongols feel legitimate. Other side, probably Berbers Japanese is my bet. Although if you pick Japanese, it could be Persians as well. It could be Berbers Persians because like the thing is that Japanese are much better in late game water fights than Persians are. Persians lacking bracer hurts quite a bit. But on the other hand, Persians are lacking bracer, right? I'm like 90% sure Persians are lacking bracer. So this is still a very, very good civ to fish boom with. Pretty decent to support Berbers, and you could keep Japanese and Portuguese for Team Islands. Alright, so the game has started, so we're probably in the spec delay countdown part. Indeed, 2.5 minutes remaining from the spec delay, and I was more or less okay with the civ lineup over here. You're gonna have Huns indeed for Miguel, Huns and Mongols, but Berbers and Malians. I mean, Malians are great here. Kind of the same role as Persians. It's fairly obvious that what we are probably going to see is that the Malians and Huns will be fighting on water, and the Mongols and Berbers will be doing their fast castle. And I feel like I'm tempted to believe that Vietnam's civs are slightly better in this case, but it depends on execution. So the Camel Archer should be able to melt the Mangudai. That's a very, very nice counter pick from Vietnam. But Berbers do struggle against siege rams, so it's not super obvious. Malians, I also like them a little bit more on water compared to Huns, mainly because they have cheaper buildings and it helps a little bit more in terms of conserving food and just saving up for the ships. So, in about 1 minute, we're going to play the second game of the series. No restart has been called just yet, so both players or both teams can still call that a restart. All right, so 40 seconds remaining. Once again, this will probably be also updated uploaded to YouTube. So the previous quarterfinals have all been uploaded to YouTube already. So in case you missed out on any of those, exclamation mark YouTube will bring you to my shiny YouTube channel, and you can actually check it out over there in case you missed any of those parts. Plus, I am also uploading a bunch of highlight games. So, games that you might have missed or might be interesting from not just 2v2 World Cup, but overall ranked games and whatnot are also something that you can find over there. Anyways, we are gonna have Miguel as Huns playing in red, and we're gonna have Dogao as yellow as Mongols on the right side. Malians for Bacti in green on the left, with Berbers ACCM in blue. And this generation, as you see, is the shared water type. So each team has one player close to one water. So both, not really lakes, but both waters are something that fights could actually occur on. Sometimes Candy generates in a manner so that one player from a team spawns here and the other here, so they have a back water source, which gives them a huge chance of fish booming. I feel like this is the more balanced Candy generation, because here, both water sources are exposed. And by the way, the relics, I'm not sure if this is intentional, but 2 of the relics are on these little islands. That's so weird. I don't think this is intentional, because the rest of the relics are positioned relatively well. So this is probably just a bug. Anyways, as I said, Mongols is kind of something you would expect on a map where you have 3 boards and a bunch of huntables. So you're just gonna drop a mill over here, take the deer, you're gonna bring in the boars. It's fairly standard Mongol stuff. I expect the fast castle from Dogao, and same thing from ACCM's Berbers, and I expect water fights from Miguel and Bacti in this one. Now the question is, where are they going to drop the docks? And also worth looking at the fact that ACCM and Dogao are on the other side of the map, so this is a cross spawn, so you're not gonna have the water fighting civs on the same side and the fast castle civs on the same side for this one. And let's see, this scout is aggressively scouting the shoreline, makes me believe that he might be hunting for a villager to kill. Let's see, this villager is being sent out by Dogao without loom, but he's just only going for the house, so that's fine. You will probably drop a dock here if you're Dogao then. Anyways, first hit is in from Miguel, so ACCM is gonna have to run away from that fight for time being, and this also makes Miguel sure that ACCM scout over here, so he can send this fisher man over here very, very fast. You can also drop off some shorefish at the dock, so that also helps a tiny bit. Honestly, this might be the best dock spot, somewhere around over here, because then you can take both shorefish from that pretty easily. And indeed, that's a perfect spot, because you can take this shorefish and take this shorefish as well. Alright, so here comes the first board for Bacti over here. First board, actually the second board is already being consumed by Dogao. You can see why Mongols are picked on this map. Their hunting rate is just absolutely insane. And in the meanwhile, we're gonna have ACCM finishing up with the dock here as well. Now this is tricky, because it seems like the fast castle civs will be up against the water fight civs, so we might just see Miguel killing the entire fishing eco of ACCM and Bacti killing the fishing eco of Dogao. That's gonna be a tricky one to look at, because it's very likely that Bacti is gonna go for a fast fuel over here. He's got 5 on wood already, and he is bringing in the next boar just now. Meanwhile, for ACCM, he's got 4 on wood, actually 5 on wood as well, which is reasonable even for a fast castle when you also have to add some fishing ships, and the HP advantage is apparently on the side of Miguel in this scout fight. Bacti resigning, meaning that he calls a restart, I believe. Vietnam calls a restart for what reason? Interesting. It's either a restart or a restore. Robo says it's a drop, so it is not a restart. They will restore the game right now. I assume that, I guess Dogao dropped? I'm not 100% sure, but they will restore the game, and we will continue in a moment. So far, no surprising things have happened. You would expect a very, very similar start for such a civ lineup. And, well, we'll have to go through the spec delay once again. So, Brazil up by 1 game, but the civilizations and the lineup that we're hearing right now makes me believe that I would actually favor Vietnam on this map. So this is the third quarterfinals. After this series, as you see on the screen, we are gonna have Norway A, MBL, and the Viper versus Russia, Dark, and Winchester. I'll be casting that one with T90 in case you're just joining in. So I'm not sure if I'm gonna. In fact, I know that I won't be streaming that myself. I will be co-casting T90 on his channel. So yeah, in case you're interested in that, you will be able to get there when time comes. But don't leave just yet because, well, we still have quite a lot of games from this series that I'm casting live right now, right here. Alright, I also had to restart my game because sometimes spectating gets bugged out, but it's 5-minute spectator delay in the games anyways, so it's not like we're going to be late. By the way, speaking of 5-minute spectator delay, I'm not a huge fan of this because, as I said, I kind of feel like it makes the game's progress a little bit slower than you want them to. So there's quite a lot of idle time in between games. So let's see what's up now with the games. We'll be jumping back into the game, and the spec delay is still 1.5 minutes. That's the main problem here. Don't worry about the Britain size. That's just the same restore thing. So Miguel's file is used to restore the game, and that means that Miguel's Huns are shown, but the rest of them are shown as Britons. Obviously, those are not the civilizations. So yeah, the 5-minute spec delay has this disadvantage that you just have a lot of time to wait in between games. Like a lot of time to wait we're talking about. Okay, so Fast Castle Camel Archers versus Fast Castle Mangodai. I feel like the Berber player is gonna have to play this one aggressively. Because if Mongols get to the Siege Ram, potentially Onager and Mangodai push, it's going to be awfully hard for the Mongol or for the Berbers to actually stop that. Because Berbers struggle against Siege Rams quite heavily. And also, they will kind of struggle against the Onagers as well with drill. So they'll have to play this one aggressively, try to take engagements, and force the Mongol player to fight, because Camel Archers will still eat the Mangodai. So your best bet is probably to have the fast castling player, so ACCM with the Camel Archers, try and push Dogao, Dogao is playing the Mongols, so they have to push Miguel, who's probably playing Vorder, because Miguel is unlikely to make any army on land early on, so he could be exposed to raids, and the best way to force Dogao to use his Mangodai to fight is to attack Miguel, because then Miguel will need to be defended. So I believe that this is a very, very good lineup right now for Vietnam, and back we are in the game. So, voyage count only 20 for Dogao, and Miguel, not paying attention, runs into the TC fire. Not a great start for our red player over here. He already had a low HP scout, but I mean, that is something that could have been avoided. Anyways, Scandi is a very, very volable map, so you would assume that the players are capable of voling their bases pretty easily. The guy is already progressing towards that, and I could see team vols happening as well from Brazil. The tricky thing is that Miguel's stones are both on the front, and his primary gold is also on the front, so you don't really want to vol just like this. You prefer to vol this, this, and this, or something like that, but that's an awful lot of work, so this is tricky to do. Maybe you use your stone to wall. Like here, here, that is something I could understand, but you need to get that gold safely. Anyways, as expected, Miguel is playing the Galley Rush uptime over here, sends 4 on gold. Same play is made by Bhakti. And let's see what ACCM is up to. ACCM is sending 4 on gold as well, and that's an interesting turn of events. In fact, The first player to get up is gonna be Dogao, also sending 4 on gold. So we're not going to see fast castles here. We're going to see a little bit more conservative plays. I do assume that one of the reasons why Dogao is not fast castling this is because he didn't even touch his huntables at the back, which is something he could get a huge amount of food from. But since apparently the waters are shared on both sides, they will decide that, okay, we're gonna go for Fire Galley plays over here. And, well, in this case, we'll see how it goes. This Watcher is kind of exposed, but ACCM Scout is low HP, so it's not gonna get the kill. These wars are finished. It's somewhat interesting that Miguel didn't took his third boar, and as expected, you're gonna vote like this. Could have voted other Stone Mine, to be honest. So it's a little bit more forward, so it's a tiny bit more safe on the gold. Not really a big deal. And we're gonna have Fire Galleys from 2 docks from everybody. Third dock is coming in here for ACCM. Now, when you're playing Berbers, your faster moving ships will actually be quite beneficial in these water fights and microing. So just like, let's say Cuman Cavalry or Cuman Scouts in Feudal Age, when taking fights, they're just faster, or like Celtic man-at-arms against standard man-at-arms. Whenever you have faster units, you can dictate whether or not you take a fight or not, and that's actually huge. So being able to run away from an unfavorable engagement, or being able to chase down weak units, is actually super good for Berbers over here, and that is also kind of a civ advantage for Vietnam over here, in comparison to Brazil, that have Mongols that don't have anything special on their fire galleys, like absolutely nothing for Mongols. The only thing that you get is like a good food eco to start the game with. Speaking of good food eco, I would love to see Dogao sending his Voyagers on the hunt, because one thing he could play with is, even though he's taking the water fights, he could be working towards going for a relatively faster cast late, so maybe he can get War Galley for himself. Goes for Demo Rafts, understanding that he's a little bit behind in Fire Galley numbers. On the other side, we'll have Demo Rafts coming in here as well. For Miguel, of course, running away from them is also easier when you have faster ships for the Berbers. And it seems like Vietnam is gonna do some nice little team wars. I really like the layout. Not really a lot of investment. And, oh, demo coming in here. That's a huge demo hit from Bhakti. And with a nice split as well. He took hit on 2 of his ships, one of them got destroyed, but I feel like Bhakti kind of won that mini fight over there. So what I want to say here is that I feel like these wars are kind of cost efficient for Vietnam, and they will keep them safe for the time being. Anyways, there is a mill coming up here for Miguel. I guess he can take the shorefish without the mill, but it's a matter of taking the hunt as well. Like, he's sending some voyagers out to hunt, although first he could be taking the shorefish. Not really a big deal though. Now, one thing that's interesting is that all players still have their fishing eco alive. It's free fishing ships for Dogao, free fishing ships as well for Bhakti, free for ACCM, but 4 for Miguel. So a slight little advantage for Miguel over there economically, and you can see that showing over there as well. And now Dogao is going to start moving out to the hunt. And that's where it could get problematic for Bhakti. That Dogao could actually get a better castlage time thanks to that hunt, but those fire galleys are dangerously close. A demo is coming in from Dogao, and that would be a great demo. If he comes from the other side, misses it. So for now, this is just gonna be a defense from Dogao, and he's gonna keep that demo alive for the time being. Even Stonewall's coming up from Miguel. I'm not necessarily against that. What I'm up against is these kind of awful battles for Miguel that he's losing on water. That was a huge demo hit from ACCM. And suddenly, all that eco lead from Miguel could actually vanish because ACCM is clapping him on water like very, very badly. At this point, Miguel needs to grab a very good demo hit to turn this around. Like, getting that demo hit over there and sinking 2 ships would be perfect, for example. But ACCM realizes that the ships are too close together. So it seems like Miguel could lose his fishing eco. Other side, it's kind of a stalemate. But if you look at Dogao's resources, he's getting close to clicking into Castlage, whereas Bhakti isn't. So that water could be in the hands of Brazil, but this left side kind of seems like Vietnam is gonna have that. The demo comes out, and the fishing ship is gonna block it. Still, nice demo hit over there, and Miguel might be able to even things out here. He lost the majority of his fishing eco, but at least he keeps the water competitive, and this is what I was talking about, the Berber faster moving ships. Being able to run away from an engagement you don't like is huge. The faster moving ships saved potentially 2, but at least 1 fire galley for ACCM over here. That's just massive. Other side, demos are coming in here for Bakhti. Dogao eats some huge demos, and really Bakhti is playing very good on water right now. Dogao on the way towards Castle Age though, and he's sending villagers to stone. So I guess Mangadai is still in his head, and remember that if there are no camel archers from the Berbers, the Mangadai can still be super scary. So, especially considering that there are just palisade walls over here. Bakhti not far away from Castle Age, but he still needs a little bit more time. And for now, Dogao is holding this one fairly well. Meanwhile, Miguel is just massing ships back at home, trying to get a favorable demo hit to turn this one around. But ACCM, now that he has the water, he can start adding fishing ships, and that's gonna be huge. Miguel is also going to Castle Age though, and this could turn things around, so it's a different approach from the two teams. Vietnam is going for a little more aggressive feudal age play, whereas for Brazil, they are working on getting up to Castle Age. For Miguel, he's just trying to get the ship numbers up high, so that he can get Vorgali upgrade and take a fight when he reaches Castle Age. I'm not sure if that's gonna work out though, because this dock is about to go down, so the ships will ungarrison. Same here for this one. So he will fight this one, or he will have to fight this one before the Vorgali upgrade kicks in, and I'm not sure if that's going to be a favorable engagement. And you see that both Bakhti and ACCM are now, considering that they have water, they will start that fishing ship, and that's gonna be a huge fish boom over there for them. Fire galleys pop out. They will sink a few of those from ACCM, but ACCM is doing a masterful job just keeping those fire galleys alive. That's the key here for Vietnam. And Castle Age is in, but I feel like Miguel's ships will go down just before he would be able to upgrade them to War Galley. In fact, I don't see the War Galley upgrade coming in here for him just yet. There's a demo on the way, and if that demo connects, that would be an enormous demo. And just pretty much sink that entire fleet. Honestly, Miguel might actually be able to come back to the water over here. For Dogao, he is giving up on water completely though. If you look at Dogao, he could go for War Galley upgrade, but he's not doing that. He lost water and he knows it. So next step, now they have to be very, very aggressive. And ACCM and Bakhti also know that. In fact, Bakhti is going to make the barracks. He knows exactly that now Brazil has to play this one very aggressive. Goes for immediate stone walls because they know that Mangadai will arrive. So I think the best play that Dogao could do here, although it's a little bit ambitious, but he could actually try castle dropping his opponent. Although now that the stable is coming up, it's not really going to work that well. But I feel like if he felt like he's losing water, he could have actually thought about that. Because Mangadai alone aren't really going to be satisfactory over here. And this is looking bad for Brazil. Like, very bad. Dogao is doing a free TC boom, but I'm not sure if free TC boom is going to compensate for the fishing eco deficit over here. I mean, especially considering that you don't have to invest into farms early on is a massive, massive advantage. Knights are on the field from Miguel, but not a single upgrade on those boys. And both ACCM and Bakhti are available, or are capable of doing camels, which is a huge advantage here as well. Early camels are actually acceptable against Mangadai, and they will just eat the knights. So there isn't really anything that Miguel can do against the camels, and that's a problem. That's a huge problem for Brazil. They lost both waters, and it's not like they are really going to catch up in economy, to be honest. So yeah, these knights aren't really going to do anything. Vietnam is stonewalled, and if you look at the ecos, it's dead even, but Miguel is behind, and that is because Miguel just reached Castle Age and he's on 2 TCs, whereas ACCM is playing 3 TCs and Fish Boom, and you also have Bakhti playing soon to be 2 TCs and Fish Boom. So, Fire Galleys, I don't think they can range that Blacksmith, but they are actually going to be annoying, destroying that house. And it's also an important factor that, look at that, Bakhti sent a villager forward. I have a feeling that what Bakhti wants to do is destroy this stone wall with the Fire Galleys and then sneak a villager in here. Dogao knows about that, so he's gonna stonewall this one off, knowing that this wall section could actually go down any moment. So, this is the difference here. Free TC boom for Dogao, but if you look at Bakhti, it is 2 TCs and 3 dogs just spamming out fishing ships, and the fish boom is going to be insanely strong in like middle to late game. And unit compositions are also looking much, much better for Vietnam. So, 2 TC play for Miguel. For actually 3 TCs coming up very, very soon. And this is the other problem. The shoreline walls, if you lose the water, they will get through these walls. And I feel like This is the moment where Bacti could just start sending in those camels over there. Indeed, that's the case. And Miguel, I don't think that he knows about that possibility. By the way, this is a beautiful line of trees just locking down the back of Miguel's base. I don't think these will do a lot of damage because there's a TC cutting off the path here. And there's a TC cutting off the path here. And the third TC could come up here as well. But this could be a dangerous opening in the long run. That many knights should be able to beat the camels with the TC support. Anyways, what is Dogao up to? He's got 655 stone in the bank, so that should be enough for a castle. A very, very defensive castle, basically a Mangadai factory for him. And he's booming on 4 TCs. So he knows that he needs more than 3 to catch up or keep up the pace with the Vietnamese players, and boy, he is doing that. So Dogao's eco is comparable to the Vietnamese player's eco. Not so much for Miguel. I feel like Miguel is a little bit too heavy on gold, considering that he wants to keep 4 TCs working. For 4 TCs, you need like 24 villagers on farms, and it's like 22 just coming in right now for Miguel. You can see that he doesn't really have that much of a food right now. He could even buy a little bit so he can keep these 4 TCs working, but he has fallen behind quite considerably in villager count, so he's the only one below 70. He needs to use that market, buy some food, and keep those TCs working if he wants to catch up. He doesn't need 14 villagers on gold, unless he's slinging. Which could still be the case. We could see Miguel slinging the Gao here, which would be a completely different scenario. Slinging into Mangadai and an Imperial Age plush. Monks out on the field for Miguel. That kind of explains why he's going heavy on gold. And he could be just trying to... But where is he going to pressure? That's what I don't understand. I don't see any places where Miguel could do any reasonable amount of pressure. This castle is perfectly positioned for ACCM, who is gonna start making camel archers and going to Imperial. That's sick. First Imperial over here. I mean, Dogao or is not even close. Is Bacti slinging this? We could actually check it out. No, not a single resource sent. In that case, this is an enormous eco from ACCM. He was able to go up with 3 TC boom, going for University now. I mean, he had the fish supporting him, but Dogao has the same eco, but Dogao isn't even close to clicking into Imperial here. This is looking extremely good for Vietnam. The castle is up, so these knights will not really be able to break in, and camel archers will already be on the field. And if camel archers are in better numbers than Mangadai, then they will just eat the Mangadai over here. And as I said, since one of these stone mines from Dogao are here, if these fire galleys just went and destroyed this wall, a sneaky villager from Bacti could make some buildings here and maybe deny that stone mine. Mangadai are coming up as well for Dogao, who is about to click up as well, but even numbers of Mangadai will just be destroyed by camel archers. So this is looking awfully bad, to be honest, for Brazil. That being said, the first camel archers did get converted, but now there are some Vululus from Bacti. Gets 1 knight converted, and that's all. Castle coming in here for Miguel. Miguel is about to imp himself though, and this is gonna be interesting to look at. But what is Miguel gonna go for? That's my main question. I mean, he's mostly on stables. If he imps himself, he's not really going to sling Dogao. So he needs to go for his own military, which could... Like, honestly, I could see halberdiers maybe against the camels. Because you need something as the camels that Bacti is going for. Bacti, on the other hand, is not going up to Imperial just yet. And that's gonna be an interesting one to look at. If Bacti doesn't have a lot of camels on the field, Tarkans are completely legitimate. Because Tarkans would be an excellent meat shield in front of the camel archers. Or like, just to soak up the damage. Tarkans are also good against buildings, so they can actually get through walls pretty easily. And since we are seeing Bloodlines and +1 defense, it's going to be... either Knights or Tarkans here. It could just be Paladins, but it could be Tarkans as well. It's gonna be Knights. Okay. I mean, Knights are a little bit more general purpose than Tarkans, and if there are camels on the field, I like Knights a little bit better than Tarkans for Miguel. Anyways, Bacti with some aggressive stone walls over here. There are some Mangadais running around, but they didn't inflict the massive amounts of damage. Camels will have to defend against this one. And I feel like this is what should be the play for Brazil if they want to win this. They need to use the Mangadai and attack Bacti with them. because Bhakti doesn't have a lot of things to defend against Mangadai with. Like, his camos aren't really going to be amazing, and this would force ACCM to bring his forces over here, and that would allow Miguel to push the left side with cavalry. Although, of course, Bhakti could also come in here to help, but that takes quite a lot of time for Bhakti to help with the camos, and Miguel can just run away from those fights. So that could be something to consider, but I still believe that the Vietnamese team here has a quite significant momentum. Bhakti coming in with rams already to start pushing his opponent. There is a cavalier on the way for Miguel, who is about to lose that castle. I don't think he's even making a trap. Indeed, he could try squeezing conscription in and just repairing that castle until he can get that. He's back on track with eco, more or less. He's still behind a tiny bit, and well, this is why losing the water on Scandi is also gonna hurt. You cannot place your markets to the edge because the galleys will deny that. So, especially with this wood line, that's even worse for Brazil. But it doesn't really matter. Even if this wood line wasn't here, you couldn't place your stuff here convincingly. So, yeah, the trade route is going to be shorter as well for Brazil. And they just don't seem to have the civs to win this one. I mean, Imperial Age is almost in for Bhakti. They will bring in Farimba camels. They will have camel archers deal with the Mangadai. What is the unit composition for Huns and Mongols over here? I don't know, but the Berbers and the Malians lineup over here seems to work extremely well for Vietnam, and we could be in for a 1-1 here for our Vietnamese team. Traps are being set up as well. I also love that monks are around to heal the camels so they are full HP. Paladin is on the way, something that Miguel is waiting for, but Miguel is waiting for Paladin, Bhakti is waiting for Heavy Camel. The two upgrades are comparable in research times, both of them are very, very slow. So by the time Paladin is in, Heavy Camel with +4 defense is gonna be in as well. And like, Miguel is losing the stables, Miguel is losing TCs over here, and it's not like Dogao can help, because Dogao, even though he has elite Mangadai with Bracer, there's elite Camel Archer with basically full upgrades. Mangadai trying to snipe the traps and to buy some time, but it's going to be a costly fight, and this is all that ACM has to do. Just keep the Mangadai away and let the camels take the engagements. Traps will be able to take the castle or take the buildings down. This is excellent play from Vietnam, with the exception of this one. They don't really want to fight this one just yet. Camel Archers also in to support. And Mangadai will also come in from this side. There is another castle that's on the way. And remember this hole that is still open. Miguel is at 120 population, by far the lowest in the game. And he's just gonna keep losing his TCs, which makes rebooming a lot harder. And see, Heavy Camel is already in. Paladin not in just yet. So this might be the perfect time for Vietnam to take this fight. Camel Archers on the field. Monks also trying to get some conversions in. If they can get some conversions on the cavalry, that's even better, and that's a perfect fight for Vietnam. I mean, a lot of the camels are getting absolutely torn apart by the Mangadai, but at this point, the cavalry are dead, so the Paladin upgrade isn't really going to have any major effect. And now it's going to be pure Camel Archer against Mangadai, not a fight that Brazil wants to take, with the camel reinforcements on the way as well. Plus a castle is coming in here. This is looking extremely good for Vietnam. Brazil played extremely well in the first game, but I feel like here they played okay, but not something super, super amazing. And Vietnam is in a good position to win this game, but it's not over just yet. Farimba Cavalier will be the transition from Bhakti, so I'm okay with that, because his camels will melt to Mangadai, so he just wants a meat shield in front of the Camel Archers, and that's going to be the Farimba Camels. Farimba is already in, or Farimba Cavalier, and see, the Paladin are still melting to the Camel Archers, but more importantly, to the camels of ACCM, but Siege Ram is on the way for Dogao, and where is the cavalry support from Bhakti? It's nowhere close. Is Brazil going to turn this one around? Because it's all about momentum. If you have those Siege Rams on the field and you kill those castles, ACM is not going to be able to rebuild his Camel Archers. And it's not like there's a lot of cavalry on the field to kill the Rams. And we have talked about this so many times, that the biggest weakness that Berbers are having is Siege Ram. And if you have a Paladin that soak up the arrow fire, it could work. This is not a great fight for Brazil, they know that. But they are confident that they can just lower those Camel Arch numbers so that they can just keep adding stuff. And honestly, especially with drill coming in. Those siege rams are melting castles, and one thing is different for two teams. Dogao's castles are completely safe, and I think the problem here for Bhakti is that he's making camels, and the camels will melt to the Mangadai, whereas the Hunnic Paladins are just much sturdier. There goes the first castle for ACCM. Free remain for him, whereas for the Dogao, he's got 3 castles making Mangadai as well. But look at that, the Drill Siege Ram are just pushing forward, soaking up the arrow fire, and it's not like the camels can do much against that. I feel like there is a need from Bhakti to go for the Farimba cavalry over here, like Farimba Cavalier. And meanwhile, we might have a push on the right side as well. There is kept ram on the way for Bhakti, so he wants to make a ram push against the Mongol player on the other side. And now the camels are getting unleashed, something that the Gao is not noticing. The Gao needs to kill those camels because those are very expensive rams. And the Cavalier or Paladin will have to move towards the camel archers. Cavalier... yeah, this is tricky because the camels could now flood the eco of Miguel. But on the other hand, I think that these rams could just bash through these walls to open up a little bit more space for engagement. Trade is being set up by Brazil, just like Vietnam. Vietnam is going to have a slightly more efficient trade coming in, though. And right side, still very peaceful for the time being. Rams are excellent at soaking up the damage over here. And the War Galley from ACCM. What is he up to? He's trying to go Cannon Galley and try to take those markets down. I mean, it's not a bad idea. In fact, it's a reasonable idea. But this is not a fight that Brazil can take sustainably. This is the main problem that they're facing, especially if they lose all of those rams. That Camel Archers should be able to dominate the Mangadai. Right now, however, the camels are getting absolutely torn apart by the Mangadai. So it's kind of a matter of micro over here, and this is a good micro from Brazil. It's a very good micro. If they can kill the majority of those heavy camels here, the Paladins will be able to just go forward and soak up the damage from the Camel Archers. Coinage on the way for Bhakti, who seems to be teching into Champ Scars, maybe. And where is Bhakti's cavalry at? This is the problem right now for Vietnam. There is no cavalry reinforcements from Brazil or from Bhakti. And now the Paladins will just fall on top of the Camel Archers, forcing them back. And if you force them back, the Siege Rams will have their chance to go for the castle. Traps are being set up as well by Tokao, another castle, but this could be very exposed to Siege Ram. In fact, they're already moving in. This castle is under heavy threat, but I'm not sure if this is enough for Brazil to win this one, although, as I said, the Paladins are doing an excellent job just soaking up the damage from the Camel Archers. And where are the Camel Archers at? No Camel Archers for Vietnam here. I might have spoken too soon about Vietnam winning a game over here because Brazil has absolutely turned on beast mode. Right side is peaceful, but that's a second castle that is gonna go down most likely. Military numbers looking relatively even, but ACCM's Camel Archer numbers are disturbingly low, and no Camel Archers, no party. The Mangadai will eat everything if you have no Camel Archers on the field. ACCM and Bhakti seem to have the counter strategy for this, but they just don't seem to have the execution to win this. And also, look at this. Kept Ram from Miguel. He's gonna open up a new front line with the Hunnic Siege Rams on the left. Paladins flooding in now. Another castle goes down from ACCM, leaving him with 3, but one of them is extremely endangered. The second one is going up inside his base. But this position is next, even though these traps are dangerously open now because, yeah, Bhakti can just run through that gate. But I mean, another castle could go down here very easily. And if Miguel just starts making cap rams, he doesn't even need siege rams, he can just start knocking down those buildings. Right side, it is still peaceful, at least moderately peaceful. Bhakti does have some rams over here, but he doesn't have the time to use them because he has to micro his units. And Bhakti seems to be struggling for gold a little bit over here because he's mixing in more and more light cav on the field instead of the camels. Another castle is in danger, and I feel like ACCM doesn't have the Camel Archer numbers now. This would be a huge comeback. Like an enormous comeback for Brazil if they manage to come back into this one, because unit composition-wise, Vietnam has everything they need to stop Brazil. It's just a matter of execution, the way that Brazil is taking the fights. And if you look at the scores, Brazil is actually ahead now, even though Miguel's score is still kind of low. But just a few rams here could open up a new front line for Paladins to rush into the base of ACCM. And just look at these engagements. The KD for Dogao, 252, 115 deaths. ACCM, not so great, and ACCM technically has a unit that should shred Mangadai. But it's about the Mangadai being able to just pick off the camels from a distance. Even Hoardings is coming in for Dogao. He knows those castles are super important, so he's gonna focus on keeping them alive. A ping from Dogao, signaling that they should target the other castle over there. Big fight coming up, but once again, I don't think there's enough beef in front of those camel archers to stop the Paladins over there. And as I said, traps being set up over here. It seems like ACM is gonna divert the villagers to repair that castle, but reinforcements are nowhere on the horizon for Brazil or Vietnam. And look at this, Miguel is even trying to make a dock over here so he can actually pressure from the water, maybe even retake water. And oh, that feels pure desperation from ACCM. He's pulling villagers to take down that trebuchet over there. Some Paladins are over there to stop that though. Another castle is already in flames, and remember, ACM really needs those castles to produce camel archers at. Meanwhile, Rams are on the way for Miguel, and he's knocking down the walls here. He's got some docks up, so he might try to take water back and make the trade a little bit more efficient, and also deny Vietnam's trade. That being said, these Paladins need to actually come in here into this fight, because Dogao doesn't want to lose the Mangadai to the camel archers. And meanwhile, Dogao is getting the relics up. The monk is almost opening the gate for those light cav. That could have been very, very dangerous. Miguel trying to quick wall this one away from the light cavalry, because that's the only opening that Brazil has on their walls. There is also an opening here, but nice quick walls so far. Light cav still trying to find an opening to get in through. Dogao with 53 military, Miguel 36. ACCM is back to very, very good camel archer numbers now though. Very good camel archer numbers. Siege rams on the way trying to take that castle down, but villagers will just bash them down. For now, a transport ship from ACCM. Maybe he wants to... I don't even know why you want to transport, because this is open, so you don't need a transport ship over there. Big fight in the middle. Once again, siege rams soaking up a lot of arrow fire. A lot of Paladins got massacred in the engagement, so this is not a fight Brazil can take convincingly, at least. On the water, everything is still peaceful. Eco-wise, it is relatively even as well. Populations are also super close. And a transport ship from Miguel. He's transporting 2 Paladins into the eco of their opponents. I don't think it's gonna matter that much. These cap drams could also start knocking down the walls. But Miguel is trying. Miguel is trying to smuggle some units into the back of Vietnam's eco. They know that Vietnam has a slightly more efficient trade because it goes from coast to coast, whereas Brazil's trade does not. So Brazil is bringing in 45 gold per trip. Vietnam is bringing in 58. So that's a massive, massive, massive differential in the gold income. Anyways, big cav archer fight over here. Well, not really a cav archer, but Mangadai. Another transport ship comes in here from ACM, who's decking into fast fire ship. Not sure if that's actually worth it for him right now, because, like, he's probably trying to fight the water, and I think that's reasonable, but this is perfect from Miguel, because it forces ACCM to fight on the water, and if ACCM is fighting on water, he might not have as many resources to use to make camel archers. Another castle is once again under heavy pounding. 3 traps, 4 traps are coming in, and the Paladins are once again amazing at just soaking up the damage. Another castle could go down from ACCM, leaving him with only 3 here. Meanwhile, you got Miguel trying to get back to the water. Siege ram is on the way from him as well, so he wants to start knocking down these walls as well. Another castle goes down for ACCM. Right side, still kind of peaceful, but soon there will be no castles to produce camel archers on for ACCM, and that could be the end of the game. Meanwhile, we got a nice little camel archer raid over here. Camel archers are pretty annoying to clean up from your trade, but the Paladins should have no trouble dealing with them here in low numbers like this. Meanwhile, other side, Mangadai doing a decent job here in this fight, but you don't really want to take prolonged engagements like that with the Mangadai. But I feel like the biggest problem for Vietnam is going to be that Bakhti is forced to add a lot more light cav, whereas you don't see a single light cav from Miguel. Miguel is full on a paladin, and that's huge. Paladins will eat the light cavs, and light cavs aren't really going to be a good meat shield in front of the camel archers. That's a huge mistake from Brazil, by the way, losing 4 traps like that to the light cavalry. Meanwhile, what do we have over here for Miguel? He's trying to get those dogs back up, but that doesn't seem to work out for now. And Vietnam, stabilizing to a certain extent, some random siege rams pushing in over here. Not sure what they are going for. Are they going for this castle? They might be. Careening even for Bakhti. So maybe Bakhti wants to transport some stuff over here. A castle is up from Dogao over here in this corner, which could actually secure this little corner for themselves. Dogao with 47 military, ACCM 45, so it's still very, very close right now. Some of ACCM's military is ships. Here is another Camel Archer drop-off with a transport ship, which could be very annoying if you place them behind those markets. They could just kill quite a lot of fish, trade. But there is another castle from Dogao, beautifully positioned, and that could be a very good staging ground to start taking down those castles from ACCM. ACCM is still queuing up a lot of Camel Archers, but you can see that he's struggling for production. He's got like 6-7 queued up on all of his castles. In fact, he's also struggling for population. He's got 180 pop available right now for him, which is a huge factor right now because this is delaying him towards additional Camel Archers. And, well, the Rams could push the wall now. The Rams could very, very well push the wall. Meanwhile, Camel Archers, however, killing quite a lot from Miguel. So far, he didn't notice it. And, yeah, this is gonna be an awful annoyance for Miguel. He's sending a few Camel Archers, or Paladins, to deal with the Camel Archers. Once again, Paladins just diving in to scare away the Camel Archers. That's all about that. Use the Paladin as the meat shield, and use the Mangda as a damage-dealing unit over here. You are gonna have Vorgali also in for Miguel. And I think that the difference between Miguel and Bakhti is this. Miguel keeps adding Paladin. Bakhti is barely able to afford the camels. Bakhti is mostly going for light cav. He does have some camels on the field, but he's mixing in more and more light cavalry now. Whereas look at that big blob of Paladins. That big of a blob of Paladins is just the perfect meat shield in front of the Mangadai. Light cav cleaning up this one over here, and it seems like fire ships are coming in for Miguel slowly over here. This is also cleanup. Paladins will also deal with the fire ship for now. And here's the big drill siege ram push. Something that could easily take down that castle. It's double layer fortified walls, but it's not like it's impossible to get through them with a bunch of siege rams. Meanwhile, we will have Camel Archers coming in from ACM once again, doing some raiding damage over here. But stone walls are up for Miguel, so they shouldn't really get in here. And look at the army for Miguel. 56 Paladins over there. They're going back. They're going back, understanding the importance of this engagement. But that doesn't change the fact that this castle could still go down. This is perfect for Brazil, because they're killing this castle and simultaneously they're cleaning up this army over here, at least doing quite a lot of damage. Onagers are on the way as well for Dogao, and that's where it really gets scary for the Berbers. Because if Dogao is bringing in Onagers, in fact that's Siege Onager already, we could see some Onager cuts, but it's more likely we're just going to see some Siege Onagers with drill on the field that can just kill the Camel Archers. But I don't think there is going to be any more Camel Archers anymore. I mean, look at this. 2 castles remaining for ACCM. One of them is under heavy fire, so that other castle could go down very soon. Camel Archer drop off over here from ACCM. Once again, a smart idea, but this castle is going to prevent those Camel Archers from doing a lot of damage. Nice teamwork from Vietnam. Using Bakhti's transport to bring in the Camel Archers from ACCM to their side. But does that matter? Probably not. Because you can clean up 10 Camel Archers, but you cannot clean up 60 Elite Mangadai and 55 Paladins that will run straight into your eco most likely. And I believe that those are Onagers indeed for Dogao. Those are Onagers, and the problem for ACCM is going to be replenishing the army. That's the primary concern. We got some lags over here in this huge engagement. Nice choke point fight that Dogao could take over there. Let's see if they decide to go for that. Not yet. They're waiting for Siege Onager. They're waiting for Siege Onager. And we have a pause. I believe this pause is because of the lags. I am tempted to believe it is. But also it's Bakhti, so we could be having a back-T related pause over here. Regardless, right now, I kind of feel like Brazil has it in his hand. Because once the Siege Onagers come in here, the Camel Archers will have just no chance to engage that one. And even worse, there is one castle for ACCM, which means that he's not going to be able to replenish the Camel Archers. Yes, this is awful. This is absolutely awful for Brazil to have these Camel Archers in their trade, but they will just bring in like 10 Paladins to deal with that one. And how are you going to stop this? Look at the queue for Miguel. He's just sending in more and more Paladins. He will be able to clean that one up relatively fast, but cleaning this one up is going to be impossible for Vietnam. It is just going to be absolutely impossible for Vietnam to clean this one up. So they're just waiting for the SOs. SOs are going to open up the front line. And now it's just a matter of the Siege Onagers getting some good hits on top of the Camel Archers. By the way, the lags aren't on my side. I just checked it. It's actually the players that are having some lags over here, which is understandable. We have some big clashes in here. And as I said, these guys will get cleaned up by the Mangudai, but how do you stop this? And the answer is no. You just don't stop these. And there is some new castles for ACCM. Now he's going to be back up to 3 for a brief moment. But I mean, we are talking about Farimba Light Cav versus fully upgrade Hunnic Paladins being spammed out. And once again, the castles are going down to the rapid place for ACCM. Dogao and Miguel are both playing out of their mind in this series. The first half of this game was a little bit potato from the Brazilians, but boy oh boy, the second half they're playing marvelous. And the Onagers also got some nice shots on top of the Camel Archers. ACCM is down to 18 militia and 94 villagers. Brazil is bringing this one back, and it is gonna be a 2-0 scoreline now, because Vietnam isn't even close to being able to do anything to hurt Brazil anymore, whereas Brazil just has a big death blob of Mangudai, Siege Onager, Siege Ram, Paladin, whatever you want, they have it on the field. And remember that Brazil set up their trade quite fast, and maybe the early trade transition helped them immensely here, because they were able to keep adding Paladins over time. Whereas for back-T, he wasn't really able to. In fact, for back-T, he was mostly playing Farimba Light Cav. Like, he's making some camos, but you can see that most of his queue is just Light Cav. He's getting Treadmill Crane at this point, but this is too far gone. This is way too far gone. Now, you don't want to throw away those onagers against the castle, but, I mean, the castle is going down, so this might even be affordable for Brazil right now, because the castle is going to go down, limiting ACCM to just one castle to produce Camel Archers from. And from this point on, there is nothing that stops the Mangudai. Because the key condition here is that you need the Camel Archer numbers to deal with the Mangudai, but that is just not applying anymore. Absolutely not applying, and this is spiraling out of control for Vietnam here. Amazing plays by Brazil, and probably a heartbreaker for Vietnam if you ask me. Because this was a game that they seemed like they were about to win. When Miguel's base was under pressure by Camel Archers and Heavy Camels, it very much felt like this is gonna be 1-1. Like, we had castles over here from ACCM and Heavy Camels against the Paladins, and Camel Archers against the Mangudai. But then, Dogao showed up, the Paladins showed up, and the good micro from the Brazilians showed up, resulting in an absolutely outstanding game for Brazil. And honestly, this is probably the most heartbreaking kind of defeat that you can actually suffer from if you are Vietnam. You were inches away from winning this game, really. You won the water fights, quite dominantly in fact. You were very close to pushing Miguel, and then you just get pushed all the way back in a situation where you're supposed to have the counter unit to the Brazilians, right? They had everything they needed. On the paper, Camel Archer and Camel beats Paladin and Mangudai any day. But not here. Not here. ACCM had aggressive castles, and this is something to talk about. Because a massive difference between the two players was that ACCM used his castles to gain ground. He was gaining ground here, but he also lost those castles. Dogao never lost a castle. It is debatable. I'm not sure if, like, I'm not saying ACCM did this wrong, because they wanted to finish the game fast, grab some map control of the castles. But in retrospective, if you think it over, if ACCM had his castles back at his base like this instead, he wouldn't have been in the need of rebuilding those castles from time to time, and he would have had the production of camel archers. Like in the last 15 minutes of the game, ACCM was trying to keep pace using free castles to produce camel archers against what is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-ish Mongol castles. I'm also not sure if ACCM got Kasbah for himself. We can actually check it out if we switch to ACCM's POV, I think. And nope, not this one. But here, ACCM did get Kasbah. So he even had faster working castles. It's just a matter of keeping those castles alive now. And an outstanding game from Brazil. Heartbreaking shocker for Vietnam over here. Dogao, as I said, I feel like Dogao is potentially being in his peak performance in this era. Not just this tournament, but what we have seen from him in the previous tournaments in this recent memory, but also this 2v2 tournament. Just look at this. 708 kills, 277 deaths, and he was fighting camel archers. Yeah, absolutely. That's totally true that it only works, like on paper that matchup works, but it only works if the camel archers can shoot the Mangadai, but it requires good unit management from Brazil so that it doesn't happen. That's the key, that Brazil had a so good unit management that they were always able to keep away the Mangadai from the camel archers, or at least not take any awful engagements. And they also were able to pretty much prevent the Paladins from being torn apart by the camels. And if you look at the KD, it was a matter of Bakhti tried helping with the camels. It's just a matter of they were always picked off by the Mangadai. And that KD is just brutal. Dogao, especially Dogao, Miguel has played well, but especially Dogao has had some of the best performances I've ever seen from him. And he has been extremely dominant in this tournament so far. Brazil looking very, very good so far, but this is not over just yet, because we are gonna go into game number 3 over here, which is the second home map for Vietnam, Chaos Pit. And that's actually very bad, I believe, for Vietnam, because Chaos Pit is kind of a coin flip type of a map. It is possible that you're going to lose Chaos Pit even though you have a great game plan, because the games are just so messy. On the other hand, Dogao and Miguel are not the players that really love to play messy games. So I can understand that if Bakhti and ACM go for a messy game, we'll see that. But remember, Incas are banned. So what are you going for? On this map, you're probably going for Teutons and Khmer. Teutons potentially for Taurash, Incas are sniped. Khmer, because you can jump into houses, that's a huge advantage on Chaos Pit, that you can save your villagers by jumping into houses. So Khmer is a must pick, and I would say Teutons is a reasonable one. Other side, Huns and Mongols are gone. Lithuanians is the most likely, alongside Aztecs. I think Aztecs are picked for Chaos Pit here, because Vikings, Malay would be for Team Islands. Lithuanians could go to Ghost Lake, technically. So it's either Lithuanians or Slavs here, that's for sure. But Britons and Lithuanians or Slavs go to Ghost Lake. The other cavalry civ comes in here alongside Aztecs. And what Dogao and Miguel are planning are probably a man-at-arms opening. And I like that. I really like that idea. Not a lot of civs can pull off a man-at-arms opening on Chaos Pit. So I completely approve that strategy if that's on their mind. Let's see. Chaos Pit indeed it is. And we will have the spec delay coming in. Once again, it's 5-minute spec delay, so we're gonna have potentially a restart over here because it already started. Let's see what we have, but don't be surprised if this is a restart. Alright, so we're gonna have Brazil over here as Lithuanians in red. Both teams still have their restarts. And Aztecs for Dogao in yellow, as expected. You can go for Loom, and you can go for man-at-arms play here. Meanwhile, for ACCM, he's playing Japanese. That's very interesting selection over here. And Teutons is played by Bakhti here. I don't understand why not Khmer. You would basically make sure that you don't lose villagers to scout raids with the Khmer here. Japanese can do a good man-at-arms opening because there is no gold in the middle, so I have seen this Japanese play here, and the only thing that you get with Japanese is faster attacking spearmen and being able to place cheaper lumber camps and mining camps, but those aren't really very dominant if you ask me, and because of that, I actually like the civs for Miguel and Dogao a lot better, because Miguel can actually go for a rather fast feudal age over here with Lithuanians, whereas for Dogao, with Aztecs, that's going to be a man-at-arms opening most likely, and Dogao is coming in for a lame. We can see why the restart is going to be called, probably by Vietnam then, because Dogao is coming in here to lame this one. I love this. I love this play from Dogao. Once again, super smart. It's a loom villager, so the scout alone cannot kill it, but the eagle is around as well, and that should be a restart from ACCM. Very nicely done by Dogao. Even if, like, the thing is that you might not be able to pull off another lame like this in the next game after the restart. But it doesn't matter. You just force your opponent to call the restart, which is already a good thing. And now you could try to go in and try to lame some herdables and whatnot. Dogao is going for the full lame play here. And meanwhile, Miguel is just chilling. Because all Miguel has to do is just go up to feudal age. And Dogao's job here is to make the game messy. Miguel's job is to get the damage done in feudal age. So, well, those berries weren't completely lamed, but oh, Dogao, not eating any damage from the TC fire. He's gonna run away, and he's gonna get this villager back to the berries. Look at that. He is bringing the villager back to the berries, and something that ACCM does not see. So ACCM, by the time he notices this is gonna be a lamed berry patch as well. Now, obviously, all these deer being killed here, especially against the Japanese player, isn't really a big deal for ACCM. And we might not have a restart. Interesting. I thought it's gonna be a restart, but if this is not a restart, this is perfect for Brazilians, even though Dogao is going to lose his ego, which is far from ideal, but he's able to lame the berries away here. And the only reason why this is not perfect for Dogao is because he's up against Japanese. And the Japanese player can afford to place the mill over here and then later on place on the berries. So, yes, there is some food being lost here. But I feel like if both of the berry patches are walled in, it's a different thing. Especially if Dogao is gonna go for men-at-arms. Dogao getting housed for a moment, that's actually very bad. That's awful for Dogao. Dogao? Oh man, that hurts so badly for him. He already has Loom. So that was like a solid 10 seconds of idle time. And here comes Miguel trying to pick off a villager from Bakhti, the isolated villager on the other side of the wood line, and that's another villager killed. Beautiful plays once again by Brazil. And look at that. This is why you don't have a 2-1 split with your villagers on the wood line, or at least you have to vote that villager in. Nice find by Miguel. If you add up the fact that ACCM might be struggling for food a tiny bit because that's the deer patch he's finishing and then he's gonna have no berries. And if you add the fact that Miguel is the first player going into feudal age here and he's gonna go for scouts, this is looking very solid for Vietnam. And there is a laming villager as well from Miguel. It's a little bit delayed, but it is still 3 huntables killed in the middle of nowhere, which forces some idle time when you have to take all those villagers to walk over there. So, at this point, I mean, ACM is going to be able to free those berries, but delays him. And this is what I was talking about. It's delay, delay, delay. And now, Dogao is making a militia. Remember, he can make 5 militia over here, to be honest. And he might be playing with that. I thought he's gonna go men-at-arms, but I can imagine him just playing with 5 militia. If you think about that. And 5 militia to keep on the pressure on ACCM could actually work out nicely. First to feudal age is going to be Miguel rushing up that stable. And now it is his job to keep on the pressure. There is going to be the berries of Bakhti given to ACCM. So ACCM has something to get some food from. But that still is going to impact Bakhti's eco because Bakhti is going to have one deer berry patch to work with. So really Dogao's lame here is paying off. And once again, he's getting housed. The only thing I don't like about Dogao's play is that he's constantly getting housed here. But he keeps adding the militias, and I guess he's just gonna try and go for these berries. 5 militias are 5 militias, and whatever ACCM and Bacti are going for, which could be spears and skirms or scouts, probably Bacti is gonna play scouts. Militias will actually be reasonable at dealing with them initially. Dogao, oh bad. That's very bad. He's gonna lose 2 militias here, and I feel like it would have been just better to go feudal and go free TC, or free TC, what am I talking about? Just men-at-arms with free men-at-arms. Now, that being said, ACCM could go try and tower Dogao, and indeed that's the plan, because Dogao is not up to feudal age, so Dogao cannot counter tower. This might be the reason why Dogao is making the militias, because the militias can delay the villagers from towering him. Here come the scouts, and they could hit the stone mine. That's jackpot. One of the villagers on the stone mine are also weak, so this should be at least 2 villager kills from Miguel over there. The towers are going in the direction of Miguel though over there, but ACCM loses 1 villager, loses 2. Perfect find over there for Miguel. And if the spearman can just kill this, or the... What are those? I'm forgetting words over here. The militias can kill the spearman, then the scouts can just engage and kill these villagers. This is still very, very dangerous for ACCM to play. Meanwhile, apparently there was a laming attempt as well from Dogao on the wood line. Kind of unsuccessful so far. And here's the big fight. Scouts going down to the spearman. There is a spearman as well from Bacti. I'm not sure if this is a good fight for the Brazilians. They're trying to use the villagers against the spearman, but villagers are going down, so I guess this is affordable for Brazil at this point. They have to kill that spearman with the villagers in order for this to be sustainable, but ACCM is down to 19 villagers. Dogao is 29, but he's still Dark Age, so that's not a thing. But both Miguel and Bacti are at 24-25, so ACCM, he's just pure 5 villagers behind, and if you also add the fact that he's fighting with villagers over here, it's not great. Now, you're gonna have the faster moving Lithuanian spearman here as well to help out. And I feel like Brazil might actually 3-0 this one now, because they seem to have a pretty significant advantage, especially if ACCM cannot achieve anything with the towers. And I wonder if Dogao is gonna do something like he could click up to feudal right now, and I think he will. Dogao? I guess he's microing his stuff right now, but as I said, this is once again not a good fight for Vietnam. They're just unable to take any fights, and Lithuanian spearmen will be very, very happy to play this one this way, and there are no skirmishers from ACCM to deal with that. In fact, ACCM is struggling for food. Remember, he lost some villagers. He lost 2 of his berry patches, so this is his berry patch. His own walls are kind of blocking him as well. And as I said, I feel like when Dogao arrives to feudal age, he might actually go straight towards castle. Like, sell stone, maybe mine a little bit of stone, and go for a castle age play. And especially if he's reaching the outside very soon, and he could go eagles, and that would be perfect. Also, wars will be completed by Dogao and Miguel. Both of the Brazilians are playing outstanding in this one. And once again, the villager goes down from ACCM. I don't see this happening for Vietnam. We could see Vietnam, one of the strongest teams, or at least one of the teams that a lot of people would have thought about as being a very, very good candidate for semifinals. We could have them getting 3-0'd here by a very, very strong Brazil. A Brazil that actually makes a case for being a finalist, to be honest. Because they seem like they will be in the semifinals, but the execution is very good from Miguel and Dogao. Especially Dogao is playing outstanding, but Miguel has been pretty consistent, and he has been doing what he had to very, very well as well. And also the game plan. So it's a combination of very good game plan, good team chemistry, and just very good execution as well from the Brazilians. And as I said, Dogao is going to go Castle Age here. He's on the outside now. He can go for gold, but he will sell his stone most likely. No, he's selling food and wood. So he wants to keep his stone up, but now he's mining stone. So I assume he is going to sell some. Oh, he's gonna stick around with his stone. That basically means that he wants to go defensive towers though. Like, he wants to make sure that these guys don't get through these walls. And he's on the way to Castle Age. Other option would be that he starts making eagles. He's gonna send some vultures onto gold once he finds those. And he's thinking about dropping a castle in the near future. That could also be something to consider, because that would pretty much seal the deal. It appears that Bhakti is also on the outside. Scouts are looping around, and this could be a good play from Bhakti. This could be a very, very good play from Bhakti, because those scouts could find a lot of vultures from Dogao, and they will find Miguel here. That's a misplay from the Brazilians, not expecting that. Miguel luckily has faster moving spearmen, so he can send those guys out there, but that's actually a nice find from Bhakti. Anyways, those scouts don't really have any upgrades. There is a scout over there as well from Miguel. And I guess he has enough villagers to maybe take a fight. He's gonna bring in the spearman. And I feel like the biggest problem for Vietnam is that they are not really close to Castle Age, especially ACCM. Bhakti is about to click up, which means he can go knights. How is Miguel doing? Miguel is not up yet. This is still tricky because the problem right now for Brazil is that knights will eat the eagles. So the Gao cannot just go eagles. He might need to go pike and siege them. We'll see what's up with that. As the Gao is trying to wall off the right side, scouts are coming in. He should be able to finish these walls in time. Is he? Yes, he is, even though he locked one of his vultures on the outside. But now he's alright. Remember that ACCM's eco is very weak here. He's got 30 vultures only, and he's using 3 of them to just consistently bash walls. So, and also I think, yeah, 5 more villas are here. So ACCM is nowhere close to being a factor in this game unless those towers work out, and I don't think those towers are really gonna work out anytime soon. But he's delaying the red player here. The player that is supposed to be making knights. We're gonna have wall-offs coming up here. The scouts are still running around, but there are a considerable amount of spearmen here to defend. So the real question is, what is the Gao gonna do? Is the Gao just going to boom? I could see that working. I mean, on the outside it's very hard to do damage, so we could just see the Gao fully booming. That's a nice find by Bhakti. Now with Bloodline Scouts, that is 5 vultures going down from Miguel, and that's kind of the thing that Brazil didn't want to happen. Another vulture goes down over here. So this is basically what Vietnam needed to climb back into the series. A huge raid that pretty much cripples Miguel's eco just as much as the eco of ACCM is crippled. So now we are talking about a situation where suddenly this game could be relatively even, and there are knights coming in from Bhakti. Teuton knights to be precise. That is gonna have the extra melee armor as well, so it's hard to deal with them right now. Also, the scouts will have the extra melee armor. The spearmen will be needed to close that gap, because I feel like Bhakti is just gonna keep sending units through this hole. Here come the knights, and for now it seems like ACCM's aggression is at least idling some vultures from the Gao and Miguel. Not sure what the Gao is planning. Like, it kind of feels like he's just booming, and I don't like this. They are supposed to have a significant advantage, but I don't see that anymore. There is also fletching for ACCM's towers, which means the damage output is slightly better. And there is somehow a sneaky villager from ACCM over here that is gonna sneak up a tower on Miguel, something that Miguel doesn't know about. Is Brazil going to lose this game? Because it kind of feels like it. And the Knights player is just so important. The first few Knights can do so much damage, and Miguel is under heavy pressure. I dislike the decision from Dogao to just go for a boom here, because that's exactly what he's doing. But meanwhile, his teammate is getting slaughtered. Miguel getting absolutely torn apart. What a throw by Brazil. What an enormous throw. Like, I'm trying not to use the word throw a lot of times, because that's kind of a little bit disrespectful to the players, but this was one. Like, they were actually... Like, ACCM had no eco, and suddenly, raids from the scouts on the outside, and the fact that Dogao is just booming here means that, like, they're getting destroyed. Fully destroyed. And, like, Miguel has 30 villagers now, ACCM with 38. The player that lost a bunch of villas at the beginning is now actually in a much better position than the player that never had this eco touch for the majority of the game. But it's just a few scouts, few knights. It's not over yet, because Dogao is at 51 villagers and Bhakti is playing 1 TC knights. But now Dogao has to do some insane carrying. He's gonna go monks, but monks aren't really gonna work, because he's up against Teutons. And Teuton cavalry will be, or Teuton units will be very, very resistant to monks. Is Norway today or did I miss it? Norway versus Russia will be following this series. So first this one, and when this ends, Norway versus Russia. So here's a monk out there that could jump into the TC as well when the knights come in. +2 defense on the way for Bakhti. He's going for battering ram as well. But look at Miguel's eco. He's just getting absolutely torn apart here. And the knights are gonna fall on top of those villagers. I don't see this for Brazil anymore. Miguel is just so weak. Unless Dogao can 2v1 this, but I don't think that's gonna happen. I really don't think that's gonna happen. And the problem is with Chaos Pit is that if you lose the middle, you're gonna be trapped in here. Miguel is so dead and he cannot even sling. He cannot sling because he is just feudal age. Finally, Pikeman was actually clicked for a moment by Dogao, but then he cancels it. He's just booming. This is basically him letting his teammate completely die over here. That being said, I feel like Miguel is just trying to escort his villagers in here, but I love how Bakhti is just camping down this crossing. He just knows that Miguel wants to escort these villagers out here because these villagers cannot do anything. They cannot farm because the towers are here. They cannot take down the towers because the knights are there. And are they just gonna bash their way through that house? Apparently not. There might be a hole by that, but there's a stone wall. So Pikeman now out on the field for Dogao. Let's not underestimate Dogao. We have seen that Brazil was in a bad position in the previous game, but then they came back and really Dogao is at 70 eco. I'm not gonna say that he's being a very good team player here, completely letting his teammate die, but his boom might actually get them back into the game, because if those knights come out, or if those pikes come out on the field, the knights will be of no use anymore, and it's going to be a fully wombed Aztec player that can start making egos very easily. Meanwhile, on the outside, there are battering rams pushing Miguel. I feel like Miguel has nowhere to go. Like, what can Miguel do against this one? Nothing. I'm not even sure if Miguel... Like, see? There is going to be a stable coming up here. Miguel might actually get defeated here because there is virtually nowhere to run for him. Like, at this point, the best thing they can do is have Dogao's pikemen come in here, try to clean up the knights, and Miguel escorting his villagers here through the hole that Dogao made through the wood line. Because now these villagers will have to leave here because the knights are here, the rams are here. But it's very hard to get those pikemen out there. And Dogao is kinda just booming here. Now, this could still be good for Brazil, and because Bakhti is investing everything he can into this pressure, and ACCM on the other hand going up into Castle Age. That's the scary part. Not sure what happened here. I looked away for a second and a bunch of pikemen died to the knights. I mean, those knights are beastly, 5 melee armor. But I didn't think that they would actually shred pikemen like that, even though those pikes have 0 upgrades, so that kind of explains things. Not a single upgrade from Dogao on those boys. A lot of those knights are weak now. And Eagles coming in here from Dogao. This is so tricky. Like, at this point, Miguel is like Omega dead, and now the Rams are gonna start pushing Dogao here on the outside. Yeah, I know that Knight wins 1v1 versus Pike, but you would have assumed a little bit more casualties from the Knights. But what I saw was just full Knights survival and like no pikemen surviving. It was like not even a single Knight lost or something like that. Anyways, we still have to keep in mind that Dogao alone has comparable villager count than the two opponents combined. The problem here is that ACCM is gonna go up into Castle Age. In fact, he's already up. He has enough stone to drop a castle very soon, and I believe that's what they are planning. He could drop a castle here in the face of Dogao. And Dogao now has a +1/+1. On those pikemen, the knight numbers are slowly dropping. Dogao flooding the pikemen over here, and remember, Dogao's eco is just beastly. Miguel, very, very low in economy. Like, pretty much not a factor. And the difference here is that ACCM can build new TCs to reboom, whereas Miguel cannot. Miguel is still trapped in here with 33 villagers compared to 48 from ACCM. And that's the problem. And Guard Tower, I love that upgrade from ACCM here. Just secure this position, make it harder and harder for Dogao to push it. That's the entire thing about. Just delay him, because ACCM is on a good pace to reboom into this one, whereas Miguel isn't. In fact, Miguel is so dead. He's got nowhere to go. If he starts running towards Dogao, he's gonna get his Voyagers killed. If he starts running out here, he's gonna get his Voyagers killed. If he stays here, those Voyagers are all idle. There's absolutely nothing that Miguel can do, and he cannot even sling. He cannot even sling Dogao, and that's the difference. ACCM can now sling Bacti, and this is looking very good now for Vietnam. With it is going to be Bacti dropping a castle right over here, and ACCM is also ready to drop his own castle. And it's not gonna be something that Dogao stops. It's definitely not gonna be something that Dogao stops. I feel like this is just helpless struggle from Brazil to hold on to a game that they should have won, but let slip away, basically. Like, those scouts getting to the wood line of Miguel was huge. And like, Miguel losing a bunch of villagers over here on the stone. Miguel just lost way too many villagers to be a factor. And that's hurts very badly, because this is why he's not up in castle. If he was in castle, he at least would have had the chance to make his own knights and make this relatively even. Now, the towers are slowly going down, but it's a slow and desperate push by Brazil. And honestly, Bacti, it's time for Teutonic Knights. Teutonic Knights will basically eat everything that Dogao has. It's just pikemen, basically, so you can go straight up Teutonic Knight. Although, Jaguar Warriors could actually take some engagements against them, but it's weird. I wouldn't really want Jaguar Warriors against Teutonic Knights, but Dogao is imping. The problem for Dogao is he doesn't have Halberdier, so he's gonna have like Garland War Pikemen, but that's not really as amazing as Halberdier could be against the Knights, especially considering Dogao is still missing attack upgrades. But that castle could actually allow him to trap this one down. How is Bacti doing with Imp? Nowhere close. But ACCM is rebooming as well, and ACCM will soon be a factor himself, especially if he adds a TC and starts booming up. Whereas for Miguel, Miguel is at 36 Voyagers, 4 on food right now for him. 4 on food. And Knights coming out. Dogao is at 0 military. Miguel is at 5, Bacti's at 30. Once again, desperate effort to hold on to something that they should have won but lost. Because it looked extremely good for Miguel and Dogao. They killed a bunch of Voyagers from ACCM. It felt like Miguel was in feudal, he was doing nice damage with the scouts, and Dogao was able to FC it, well, not really FC it, more like slow castle it. And here are the Teutonic Knights. Look at the KP boys. And it's like, Teutonic Knights here are not a meme decision. They are a perfectly legitimate way to deal with the pikemen in here. So the problem is that Dogao, I don't see him being able to defend the trap. That's the problem. And I don't see Dogao being able to do anything that can even just remotely affect the eco of Vietnam. Here come, like, 2 monks were actually walled in over there. Because now they find Miguel's wood line over here. Nice, quick call so far. Some villagers will go down. The monks are healing each other, by the way, but both of those monks will eventually go down. Dogao in Imperial. If he makes a trap, he's gonna have to wall it in. He's a little bit low on wood to do that, but he's teching into Eagle Warrior. I think he already has Eagle Warrior, but Teutonic Knights will eat Eagle Warrior as well. So the only way you actually make this happen is if you can get good raiding damage done with Eagle Warriors. Like, you could try hitting ACCM, you could try hitting Bacti's eco, to be honest. Like, there are holes that are large enough that Dogao could actually try to get through those before quick walls will actually happen. Here are the stone walls on the other side. However, it's only 5 pikemen against 6 knights from Teutons. Samurai from ACCM. Where did those come from? It came from a castle here. And full desperation migration from Miguel. This is... Miguel's gonna get defeated. Right? No. Miguel keeps his villagers alive, deletes the TC. So he's gonna have to rebuild the town center, but he doesn't have stone. He just got slung 100 stone, or he bought it, whatever. And he's gonna make a TC here. Knights coming back, trying to stop that TC from happening. Samurai and Elite Teutonic Knights, what a game this is. Egos are in, and the mobility advantage will be on the side of Brazil, that's for sure. But can one player with 115 villagers compensate for one with 103 and 67? So the problem here is the massive eco deficit of Miguel. Miguel is dead. Like, Miguel could very well just go AFK, because he's not gonna achieve anything here. These knights will destroy the TC. Miguel's gonna go defeated. Miguel is gonna be defeated, and Bacti is imping this. Full desperation from Brazil. This is all about that. This is like... I know this feeling. It's about, you know that you're supposed to be winning that because you had a good early advantage, but then you just kind of realize that, no, you're not gonna win that. You're not really gonna win that, and Miguel is gonna get defeated. Because he has nowhere to run now. Absolutely nowhere to run. This TC is gonna go down. Knights will kill everything. And I feel like Barracks is down. Yeah, this is gonna be Miguel defeated. Miguel's gonna get defeated here. By the way, it doesn't really matter because Cavaliers will be out there for Bacti. And Cavaliers will just eat the Eagle Warriors. So, like, Teutonic Knights don't have the mobility to deal with the Eagles, but Cavaliers do. And Miguel is at 5 villagers. Let's see if we have a GG here when Bacti reaches Imp. No. They still feel confident in Dogao's skills to pull this back. If Dogao pulls this back, that might be the greatest 2v2 comeback and the biggest carry I have ever seen in a tournament. Because Miguel is Omega dead. He's got 5 villagers without Town Center. I'll make it free because that's -2 over there. And more Teutonic Knights are out on the field. But remember that Dogao has a huge amount of Eagles that could just flood the eco. And if things like this happen, and if he can cripple Bacti's eco with the Eagle raids, he might be able to take some decent engagements. But Bacti's gonna have the Cavalier in. Garland War Pikemen might be able to hold a tiny bit against them, but not for a sustained amount of time. Especially against Teutons. But Dogao's gonna have the Eagles, and do not underestimate the Eagles. If he can get like 10-15 Eagles in here, things could go pretty bad for Bacti. And he pretty much just needs to deal with Bacti at this point. Because Bacti is the one that is the Cavalier player. But look at that, 7 melee armor on those guys, and those Eagles are without Garland Wars. If that opening stays there, I feel like it's GG. Because the Cavalier will get into Dogao's eco, and you never want Eagles to be spammed against Cavalier, especially not Teuton Cavalier. But even against standard Cavalier, that shouldn't work, let alone against Teutons that have, like, some of the best Cavaliers in the game. Nice quick close over there for now. But once again, what is the game plan here? I mean, there are towers being dubbed in their face. Teutonic Knights are rampaging their eco. And like Cavaliers, like this is the problem here. This is the big problem for Brazil. Dogao is never going to be able to beat Cavalier. Not even simple Cavalier, let alone Teuton Cavalier. Even Halberdiers, like Halberdiers would be okay, but not Pikemen with +2 attack. Definitely not. This game has been over for 20-ish minutes. Like, ever since Miguel lost those villagers on the wood line, this was pretty much over. But I'm really not sure what they are hoping in. I don't like this. I feel like the game plan was great for this game for the Brazilians. The execution was pretty poor. This was probably the weakest game from the Brazilians by far. I mean, ACCM is imping. They just need to look at the score. It's double the score. Come on. Resign already. I don't know what they're hoping in. It's not the matter of Dogao getting to good ego numbers, because it's freaking Teuton Paladin coming in here. And, like, ACCM is gonna go Samurai, Champion, whatever he wants. He could Gore Blast as well if it's just Pikeman from Dogao. And he's also going into Imperial. And 5 Cavaliers from back TC to TC. Let's see if Miguel goes defeated, because that's the only interesting thing that can still happen in this game. Miguel could get defeated here. Because that's everything that Miguel has, right? Nope. Not happening. Miguel's gonna get defeated. Miguel's gonna get defeated. Talk about a late GG, and Dogao calls it. What? Like, I can only imagine one thing. Maybe Miguel didn't tell Dogao he's on 5 villagers. That's the only thing I can imagine. Because, let's be honest. Let's be honest. Dogao called it right when Miguel got defeated, but was it any different when Miguel wasn't defeated? Miguel had 5 villagers, which was absolutely useless in the entire game. Maybe Dogao thought that Miguel has more. Maybe Dogao was like, okay, I need to hold out a tiny bit so Miguel can arrive with the Lithuanian cavalry, or what? His teammate was on 5 villagers for 20 minutes, and then he resigns when he loses that 5 vills. Let's be honest. I am not a fan of the second half of this game for the Brazilians. In fact, I'm far from being impressed. Yeah, and it's also a good question. I'm not sure if there was any player that was completely defeated in a pro tournament. Probably, like, definitely not in 1v1 because you call a GG before. But maybe in a team game tournament, we might have seen some players being defeated. But it's super rare probably to see a player defeated. I don't think Dowd got defeated in the Dowd Castle. Dowd lost all his villagers but didn't lose all his buildings. You have to lose all your villagers and all your buildings to be defeated. He defeated it? Okay. Sometimes it might happen, but I mean, this was just full disaster. This. Exactly this drop of villagers is what shouldn't have happened. For Brazil. Their start was great, by the way. This start was actually pretty outstanding. It's a matter of this drop in Miguel's villagers that pretty much killed the game for them. But we have a series over here for us. The problem now for Brazil, I believe, is that now they will have to win a game on the home map of the Brazilians. They might take a couple of minutes of break here. Yes, they're just setting up the Team Islands game. So we're going into Team Islands. Let's take a quick look at the civilizations. We will have Japanese crossed out alongside Teutons. So you are left with Persians, Portuguese, Vietnamese, Chinese, and Khmer. You can do 2 things. Like, Portuguese is a lock here. But what are you gonna do with the other civs? Persians could be decent, but they don't have bracers, so they're not really good late game. Or you're trying to land. Like, Portuguese will definitely play water. The question is, are you gonna land? If you pick a civ like Khmer, Chinese, or Vietnamese, it's obvious you are going to land, so it's predictable. Meanwhile, for the Brazilians, Lithuanians and Aztecs are gone. They'll be left with a fairly obvious selection of Vikings and Malay for this map. It's pretty obvious that we are going to see that lineup over here. Malay, how many times were Malay used in the tournament? Malay, they were used sometimes, and we can browse through the stats for a brief moment. Here, Turks only used once in the tournament, Koreans very rarely used, and Bulgarians. Fun fact, the 2 times Bulgarians were used, they actually won. And if you think about that, Bulgarians aren't that super bad for Chaos Pit, for example, for Men-at-Arms Towers play. Because they get the free Men-at-Arms upgrade, so they can also... can they? No, they would need 10 gold. That doesn't work. If there was a little bit of gold on this map, on the inside, Bulgarians would be a pretty decent Men-at-Arms Tower civ. And, by the way, Aztecs, so far having one of the weakest win rate in the tournament. Some of these is actually attributed to the fact that they don't have thumb rings, so they don't really fit the typical archer civ role. And look at this, most of the wins, 2 out of the 3 wins that Aztecs had was on Arena. They were picked on Chaos Pit 3 times, lost 2, won 1, lost all 3 games on Ghost Lake, lost 1 game on Nomad, lost 1 game on Team Acropolis, lost 2 games on Welded. So Aztecs are really the punching bag of this tournament. Also, Britain's having a pretty bad win rate. Somewhat surprisingly, I believe. Britain's already had a very bad win rate on King of Desert 3. So It's not a surprise that, well, actually, it's a little bit of a surprise because you would expect Britons to be reasonable in 2v2, and we're still waiting for ACCM and Bacti to get ready to start the games. So, we're going into Team Islands. I could see Vietnam trying to land over here, so it's a matter of who is going to defend against that landing. And it's a tricky question, because the interesting thing about the civilization matchup of Portuguese versus Vikings is that Portuguese caravels will eat the Viking longboats. So this is not a good matchup for Brazil for that one, but I would assume if Vietnam lands, it's the Malay player that will try to stop landing. Vikings player might go side dog galleys, but we might see a fast castle attempt from Dogao with back docks. So we will see if that is the case. The game is up, so we just need to wait 4.5 minutes until we can get there because it's 5 minutes spectator delay. I don't know why. Whichever team requested the longer spec delay, I'm not a fan of that. Because normally it's 2 minutes, and the only reason why you would expect or want more spec delay is if you are actually afraid of stream cheating with live games. But, not gonna lie, expecting your opponent to stream cheat in a big tournament like this, especially considering we're talking about respectable players and players that really have a huge history of playing this game, it's weird to me that they assume that the opponent might stream cheat on them. But anyways, it's not my thing to deal with. We're just gonna casually observe the countdown and talk about the civs. Khmer. I don't like it. Why don't I like it? The reason why I don't like it is because it's very, very predictable for landing. So if you really want to land, then you might want to use a civ that's less predictable to land. Now, obviously, Khmer is very strong at landing, and here's the reason why. If you have seen tournaments on Woobly where Khmer was one of the weakest civs, why? Because they didn't have any food bonuses back then. Khmer was still one of the civs that was frequently used on Team Islands. And the reason why is because with Khmer you don't need to build a barracks to make a stable. So with Khmer you can go directly land, you save up the wood, you can go for a relatively fast fuel age because you don't need that much wood. So easy 20 pop equivalent-ish uptime. Drop off the stable immediately. Bonus, you can jump into the house. If you make a house on the opponent's island, you can jump in there and hide your vultures if your opponent is coming to try and kill your villas. And you can actually play scouts. So Brazil definitely has to expect the landing. I guess it's going to be Miguel's responsibility to deal with that. And I feel like the key for AZCM is being able to deal damage to both players. So if, let's say, Miguel is dealing with the landing, then ACCM has to be able to pressure Dogao's eco as well. So Bacti is helped out in the water fights. What would be a big brain move though, and I would love to see that, is a fast castle from the Khmer. Maybe for a landing, but I would actually love to see a strategy where you just fast castle Khmer and then sling Portuguese into caravels. It's a somewhat risky strategy, but I feel like it's ambitious, unpredictable, and, well, it could be something that really surprises the Brazilians. And slinging the Portuguese player into caravels is completely legit for a strategy. Alright, I'm gonna take a really quick drink over here while we're waiting for the game to launch up, and then we'll jump inside. All right. So welcome everybody. This is going to be the fourth game in this best of 5 between Brazil and Vietnam. We are gonna have Brazil on the left side on Team Islands, their first home map. Doga's Vikings in yellow. We will have Malay for Miguel in red. Right side is Portuguese for Bakti in green, and the blue is gonna be the color of ACCM playing as a Khmer. So as I said, I feel like there are a lot of options for Khmer if you're ambitious enough. We'll see what the plan is for ACCM, but I'm tempted to believe it's just a standard landing for stable and then scouts, something that Miguel has to deal with. Now, I have to say that this is a good position for the Brazilians to be in, because Miguel is the one that's closer to ACCM. ACCM is likely to land around here somewhere, so it's easier for Miguel to deal with. If Dogao was here, it would be a little bit riskier because Dogao wants to have a kind of untouched water engagement. So we might even see Dogao walling his base with, by the way, what is an absolutely awful gold mine spawn and something that would completely justify a restart call from Brazil here. In fact, I would massively doubt that this is going to be played with this kind of gold. That's a absolutely horrendous gold. Undefendable, exposed to water aggression, that's not something that you want to have or you can afford. If you add the fact that Miguel has the same kind of gold here, this is a must restart for Brazil. They have the restart available still, so does Vietnam. They have to use it here because this is giving them so much disadvantage that, like, if they don't restart it and lose the game, it's gonna be partially because of these. Other side, back these golds are slightly better. The secondary gold is exposed, which is not great, but I mean the primary one is relatively safe. Berries are not nice though. And ACCM, he's got the perfect base. Golds are safe, berries are safe, wood is safe as well, and he's going for 4 on wood, making the 5th one just now. Standard water builds for the time being. Anyways, we're gonna have a forward dock from Miguel over here, and Dogao is going to bring that Rhino in, I assume, because this will be a forward dock, and a forward dock is pretty weird, and a restart from Brazil. Yes, exactly as expected. This gold mine and this gold mine are just so bad that it is a must restart. Good decision from Brazil. It's a decision they had to make, especially on their own home map with match point. You want to make sure you win this game on your own home map, match point. You just... Probably this is one of your best chances of winning this series. You don't want it to be screwed over by the fact that you have a kind of horrendous map. Anyways, after the restart, Brazil will not have the chance to restart the game anymore, and Vietnam will still be able to call their own re. In this, the final map would be Ghost Lake to play on. Let's quickly take a look at the civilizations that we have over here. Persians, Chinese, Vietnamese will be left for Vietnam over there, which probably will be Persians, Vietnamese, I assume, or Persians, Chinese. Both of those could be reasonable. And on the other side, Slavs and Britons will be the likely scenario. I would say you pick Vietnamese to counterpick the Britons, or sort of counterpick. So if we go to game number 5, I would make a strong case for Persians versus Vietnamese. It would be weird if Chinese wasn't used at all in the tournament, one of the strongest civs in the game. But I feel like Persians, the extra attack you get against archers, could be extremely helpful in that lineup. So, with that, we are gonna jump into the next game over here. That is gonna be on Team Islands. So, Team Islands, Vikings and the Malay versus Khmer, and the Portuguese. Let's see. Countdown is still at 1.5 minutes. This 5-minute spike delay is really killing the flow of things, to be honest. Like, we have to wait so much in between games. Anyways, we are going to jump into the next game over here, but it's brutal to think about the fact that we are like 2.5 hours into this series, and we went through 3 games. Of course, some of them were long games, but also there is a lot of downtime between games here. Okay, so just 30 more seconds, and then finally we can have a game over here. So really the question is if we are gonna have a landing from Vietnam. I'm gonna say yes. And remember that in the previous generation, ACCM was closer to Miguel. So if they are lucky right now, they could get ACCM closer to Dogao, and that would be a massive advantage, because then ACCM could potentially directly pressure Dogao, and that's not something that the Brazilians want. The Brazilians want Dogao to have good longboat numbers. Dogao is likely to open up with galleys, so side dog galleys is something that can be considered as we jump into game number 4 over here. Once again, we're gonna have Miguel and Dogao in red and yellow. Code colors will be ACCM and Bacti. And in this case, the maps are slightly better for Brazil. Yeah, absolutely. This is actually very scary for Dogao, though. This is super scary. All 3 of the gold mines at the same spot. If you lose this part of your base, say goodbye to your gold income and say goodbye to water control that way. Same thing for the stones on the other side. Not a huge fan of that, but I don't think it's really going to be a factor. It shouldn't be a factor. It's a relatively easy wall off for Dogao. So if they feel like there is going to be a landing, I would love to see a preemptive wall from Dogao around his base. Maybe even Miguel. Miguel's got a nice little forest over here at the back of the base, kind of sheltering him from a lot of aggression. This gold isn't great, but it is kind of okay-ish. For now, Bear is in a nice L shape. A perfect mill can be placed over there. Meanwhile, other side, gold spots are reasonable. Berries, stones are also decent for Vietnam. And for ACCM, not the best, but kind of works type of gold and stone layout for him. So, let's see. We got 2 relics on the side of the Brazilians, and 2 relics, I believe, as well on the side of the Vietnamese team. And indeed, that's a good question. If the Vietnamese team has a bigger island here, it's hard to determine. Shape-wise, yes, but it's also a lot emptier. So this is tricky. Indeed, what makes the Vietnamese island nice is that you have a lot of wood lines in the middle that are completely uncontested because they're far away from the shore. Miguel and Dogao have a smaller island. It's a lot more narrow, but it's a lot more stacked with resources. So I don't think that they have less resources on their island, although I cannot confirm nor deny it. But in terms of shape, it's slightly better for Vietnam, which helps a tiny bit when you want to secure resources. I don't think this is going to be a major factor, though. Anyways, backdock for Dogao over here, which could be a fast castle play, but it could just be a galley play that's like very, very safe. Other side, what is Miguel going for? Backdock as well. Interesting. Now, they might think that ACCM is gonna land, and in that case, Miguel's backdock is something I love. Why? The reason why I love Miguel's backdock is because if ACCM is landing, it's gonna be Miguel's job to deal with that landing. But then you don't want your fishing ship on the front. You want them on the back, so they're safer, right? Bacti is on this side, so when Bacti makes his fire galleys, he's going to push from this side, so Miguel's fishing ships will still be exposed. But what is important is that Dogao could be relatively safe. Now remember what I said in the previous game. ACCM was up against Miguel, which is good for the Brazilians. Here, ACCM is up against Dogao, which is a little bit bad because ACCM could land in the face of Dogao, which could make things extremely hard for the Brazilians. Because you want to have your Vikings player being able to play full water here. Anyways, nice little dog spots for the Brazilians. Both of them are at the back. And ACCM and the back T both going for forward dogs over here. Probably it's not going to be a surprise if we see landing from ACCM. He did move out a little bit deeper into the waters with that fishing ship. Not sure what's the reason for that. Maybe just misclick, because he had a deep fish over here close by. But he definitely didn't scout with that fishing ship for a time being. Anyways, nice little peaceful Dark Age over here. Second boards are in for everybody. And I don't see any intention from Miguel or the Gao to have like walls around their bases to any extent. But I love this play from the Gao. 2 Komodo Lizards over here. And there are some policide tricks from the Gao. So if there is any unit coming this way, the Komodo Lizards will move and the Gao can see them through the policide. That's a nice little trick that mostly arena players use, because that's where presence of villagers moving forward could be super important. There's a transport ship coming in for ACCM. It's a relatively fast transport. It's faster than his speed going into Feudal Age. And I wonder if he's going to wait until he gets to Feudal. Ideally, you want to be already landed by the time you reach Feudal Age. Why? Because you want to start making that stable right away. And like, look at that Dogao. Dogao knows exactly what is happening. Odette with the raid. Thank you so much, Odette and viewers. How did that show match that you played in go? I saw that you were playing in a show match. The Age of Queens show match. Thanks for the raid, everybody. So, here is the landing that is, I think, something that Dogao missed just by a tile or so. He's making the preemptive walls. I also like that both scouts are being brought in here by the Vietnamese, and Dogao is doing the right thing, walling himself off. But is it gonna be too late? That's the question, because if these 2 scouts come in, then these villagers bye-bye. And this is where the Khmer power comes in when you're landing. You will be able to drop that stable right away. This is a little bit early landing, and this buys some time for Dogao. Dogao, I have no idea if he actually saw the landing. I don't think he did. So his scout went back at the worst possible time. We already have Miguel up, and as I said, they expect the landing. Oh, here come the scouts. They waited until Feudal, trying to block that villager. That should be -1 will. Scouts are coming in here to help as well. That stable is probably going to go up, and Dogao loses 1 will already. That's the problem. That's the main problem here. You want to have your Vikings player play full water, and apparently there is a galley queued up as well by Bakhti. For now, the walls will go up. And that means that the Gao should be safe, even though this is still open. It could have been easier to wall here. But they expected the Khmer to land. This is why the Malay player was going full land. And I love how he's doing the back dock. Because with the back dock, you can see that Bakhti is looking for the fish, but it's nowhere. It's nowhere because Miguel is playing smart and Miguel is placing the dock at the back. If you go for a full land defense, expecting the scouts play, then you are going to place a back dock. And now they're gonna pull the villagers to wall this one in with the spearman. And this is the problem with the Khmer scout-only play. You don't have anything to deal with the spearman, and this way, just 2 spearmen on the field could actually be immensely helpful at just cleaning this one up. They even make a tower. I don't necessarily think it's needed, but this is gonna like guarantee that ACCM goes nowhere here. And that's, I think, perfect right now for Brazil. Because in short term, Dogao's Vikings, especially considering that he's going triple dock galleys, should be able to easily deal with this one. He's going to sink the transport, and look at that. Miguel realizes that Bakhti is going to come his way. He's going to pull the fishing ships from here to another dock. Transport goes down. Next step for the Gao is to go for a fishing geek off his opponent. Meanwhile, we got the scouts out on the field, but I don't think they will inflict a lot of damage. Nice thing for ACCM that he can jump into houses. That's not gonna be a trap from Miguel. Still, I mean, Miguel is chasing this one down. And remember that Miguel is also going to have a slight eco advantage over Bakhti or ACCM because he's Malay, so he's going up to the next stage really fast. And the galleys should be able to keep this one alive. And this is going to be the difference. Dogao is gonna be able to push the fishing eco of ACCM, whereas for Miguel's fishing eco should be relatively safe. He might need to make a demo or something, but he's not on gold, so that's not gonna happen anytime soon. Still trying to wall this one in. The Voyagers are a little bit exposed. This is not nice. This is not nice for Miguel. That's -1 will, and that stable is still wide open. Scouts just running around. But this is giving time for Dogao. This is giving time for Dogao to get the galleys on the field, and they're going to the back of ACCM's base. Normally, when you're landing, you usually do back dock, or at least you sometimes do based on my experience in 2v2 World Cup. You would prefer the front dock just to get the transport ship out fast, but you prefer the back dock because it makes your fishing ships a lot safer, and that might have been Dogao's initial idea, but then he just went back to the front, kills 2 fishing ships, and they should have a significant eco lead now. ACM is at 31 eco, the rest of them are all above 35, and don't forget Dogao has free wheelbarrow as well, which helps a tiny bit for his Voyagers, and this stable should be walled in. Good old-fashioned back T-pause is what we're gonna have. So, Galley's out for back T. He's gonna have the HP advantage. He also has fletching. Dogao also has fletching himself. But if this continues to be like a galley versus galley, then war galley versus war galley fight, then Dogao's gonna have the longboats on the field, which is nice. But look at the resources for back T. Back T's resources are sick. Remember, back T didn't have to wall. Back T didn't have to wall a single bit, and back T is going up to Castle Age, whereas Dogao isn't really close. Did back T sell his stone? The answer is no. So this is a brutal fuel age from back T to get that one up. Now that being said, he could lose some of his fishing eco over here, but that is the same for Miguel. We have another transport ship for ACCM, so he's not really to give up on this one just yet. This base isn't really gonna go anywhere anymore, even though you need to wall those houses in as well, otherwise, like see, yes, you have to wall it around. So now, Dogao is gonna take that fight, but Dogao is quite massively delayed going into Castle Age. I think the main reason why he was delayed is because he had to wall so much. That takes so much time from you. And also I think back T pushed in all his deer, whereas Dogao didn't have the time to take his deer because he was patrolling his scout. Anyways, from now on, Miguel is going to be a factor on war as well, and that's something to pay attention for. ACCM going into Castle Age here, goes for another transport. I wonder if he wants to smuggle another stable in and then get some knights out, breaks through these walls, and then get some knights out from this stable as well. But if Miguel is able to get up into Castle Age, and he will go up to Castle Age, he could either sling Dogao, or he could go for his own fire ships with Malay. Oh yeah, he also lost the Voyager at the beginning, that's true as well. It appears that back T's fishing eco is kind of low though. If you look at the eco numbers, it's not so promising for Vietnam, but they are progressing towards Castle Age, and none of the Brazilians have clicked up just yet, but this is a good fight for Dogao though. He needs to lower those galley numbers before back T gets the war galley upgrade, and he, I think, will be able to. Picks off like 2 ships, maybe a third one as well. That's exactly what you want to achieve before war galley kicks in for back T, who made a huge mistake having galley queued up before that war galley. You wanted to have war galley a little bit faster, and back T is not going to be able to afford Botkin Arrow immediately. He cannot afford Botkin Arrow, and if you look at the Dogao's eco, it's looking a little bit more convincing. War galley is still not in, and that war galley being delayed is so bad right now for back T. He's losing a lot of HP on those ships. On the front, we have a fight that apparently is being won by back T quite decisively, and there is bloodlines coming in for ACCM, so he's not ready to give up on this just yet. Another second stable comes in here, something that Miguel has no idea about just yet, but maybe polycite scanning is a thing. No, Spearmen are just patrolling there, and apparently Miguel and Dogao believe that ACCM is done with the landing and Miguel is gonna play fire ships. This could backfire very, very badly. But if they click the scout of ACCM, they should see the upgrades, and that should tell them that there is more going on here. Second stable, knights are on the way, and this could catch Miguel by surprise here. This could really catch Miguel by surprise, especially now that Miguel is losing his fishing ships, so Miguel is down to 42 eco himself, but there is going to be fire ships on the field for him. Caravel is being queued up by back T. He wants to make that transition because he needs to make sure that he doesn't fall behind once longboats are on the field, and Let's see if Miguel sees those buildings. Still no clue, but I think he now suspects it. He now suspects it, and indeed he's going for double monasteries. I think he polycide scanned it. And the problem now is that there's already 2 stables up. And the first monk is just coming in here. This is gonna be very hard for Miguel to defend. Like, awfully hard. But anyways, Vorgali Ballistics is in for Dogao. And fire ships will still be there for Miguel. So this is still a little bit scary for Bhakti. Because as much as ACCM is pushing Miguel on land, Miguel still will have a bunch of ships on the field that might swing the water engagement in the favor of Brazil. And when that happens, ACCM is not going to be able to land anymore, and suddenly they could be exposed to a lot of water aggression. There is a monastery coming in from ACCM to convert the knights that were originally converted back. And let's see if the knights are just going to try and free the stable. I think that's the plan. Or just go straight towards Dogao. They're going straight towards Dogao with an overchop on Dogao's wood line. Don't tell me Dogao is gonna allow that hole to be there. Huge fight on the water over here. Big demo hit by Bhakti. We are gonna have a siege workshop from Miguel. He's doing his best to just go battering rams, take these buildings down. Over here, nice revolts from Dogao. This is still open. Dogao is playing 2 TCs. I think he's the only player who's playing 2 TCs, so eventually his advantage is going to materialize, but he still needs some more time. Pings are coming in here from Miguel. Dogao could notice that there is an overchop over there, and luckily for him, ACCM turns back. Meanwhile, more knights are coming out. Monks are on the field for Miguel. He could get some conversions in. Vululu says the monk. 1 conversion, 2 conversions. That's perfect. Here comes another monk to get it back. That's not gonna happen. Villagers hop into the house. Actually, the knight will get converted back. These knights still just trying to kind of break this stable free, take this tower down. But the defense from Miguel is very good, and now the battering ram is on the field. If you compare the ecos for Dogao and Bhakti, Dogao has a pretty considerable lead, and that is looking better and better for Brazil. I don't think ACCM's landing is doing enough. There is enough defense potential here from Miguel, now with all the converted knights and the battering rams, that he should be able to hold this one for now. And in the meanwhile, Dogao is on 2 TCs, Bhakti is playing with 1 TC. He's afraid of a counter landing, so he went for the defensive walls. And if you look at the numbers, Dogao has 32 military, Bhakti has 19. Now those are caravals, or at least some of them will be caravals. Most of them are still war galleys though. But it's not looking great anymore, and look at that, they're destroying ACCM's dock. They're destroying ACCM's dock, so ACCM cannot land one more time. And for now, it's just a matter of Miguel defending this one right, and Dogao just doing what he does best. He's on 2 TCs, he can keep pushing the water, and Vikings Eco is Vikings Eco. ACCM is dropping a second TC at this point. Actually, ACCM is on 3 TCs very soon. At this point, ACCM, if the landing fails, as that's a nice move from Dogao to kill the knights in the close vicinity, might want to focus down the scouts, because the scouts are meant to kill the monks. So, the thing is that at this point, ACCM might need to consider slinging Bhakti. And that would be completely legitimate. But still, fleet advantage is massively on the side of Dogao, but he's going to be delayed by trying to clean up these stables. I actually like that he's going for that. It makes sure that Miguel is safe, and Miguel is also 53 villagers, so he's comparable to ACCM completely. And Miguel could also go for his own fleet, or also could sling Dogao here. I feel like this is looking extremely good for Brazil now. There is no careening on either side in this water fight. It's just going to be an even trade of ships here. Reinforcements are coming in from Dogao. Ballistics is in, I think, for both players. It appears that Dogao is going to disengage, wait for reinforcements. It's 14 versus 18 in the favor of Dogao. Now he's going to take this fight. Reinforcements are also slowly coming in for Bhakti. In this one, there are some war galleys getting cleaned up at the back of Bhakti's base. So the ship numbers are kind of equalizing right now, but look at Dogao. He's getting close to clicking into Imperial here, with ACCM's landing being reduced to almost none. Battering ram is cleaning up these buildings. I mean, ACCM is still trying to be annoying, but I don't think he really is right now. Miguel is doing a nice job defending, and now he has more knights on the field than ACCM. In fact, a counter landing from Miguel once they clean this up could be absolutely justified. Battering ram goes for a monastery. It's really hard to clean up the Khmer landing because the villagers can jump into houses, so they can just keep placing buildings and always jump into houses when units come their way. There is a monk also here that is surrounded, so Knights could also get converted. No, it's not surrounded. It's actually the Monk doing some moonwalk and then dying. Big war fight once again, and numbers seem to favor Dogao, who is on the way to Imperial. Bakhti not even close to clicking into Imperial, and that's where it gets scary for Vietnam. If Dogao gets into Imperial, he's gonna go Galleon, or he's gonna go for Longboat switch. Whichever works for him. I feel like with the ship numbers he possesses right now, Galleon is completely alright for him. And I feel like Dogao could try and push that stable down as well. Now the Knights are focusing on those houses. So let's see. Oh, that's gonna be a one monk being picked off over here. Apparently, Miguel doesn't want to use the conversion power of the monks on that scout. Scorpions pop out only to get immediately destroyed and killing one monk. So I guess there was some value over here. Scout or villager tries to escape. One of them will get killed. There is another villager inside this house, but this landing is gonna do nothing. And as I said, it's a matter of Imperial Age for Dogao right now. Bracer, Galleon, and remember that Miguel is also in a pretty good spot. 61 villagers. ACCM is now ahead of him in terms of villager counts, but it's not like Miguel cannot catch up or anything. In fact, Miguel could catch up pretty easily. He could add fishing ships now that his water isn't pressured. It's just a matter of cleaning this one up real quick over here. Comes in with the battering rams. Now, Bakhti could try to support against the battering rams to keep that stable alive, but at the end of the day, this aggression is gonna be gone. And from this point on, ACCM's landing isn't really going to achieve anything. Horse color for Dogao coming in right now, but more importantly, it is Imperial Age. This is the moment that Dogao has to fall back. He cannot afford to take this fight before his upgrades come in. But when those upgrades come in, boy oh boy, Chemistry, Bracer, and Galleon at the same time. And it's like 28 War Galleys against 12. His numbers are better, his upgrades will be better, and the stable goes down, and that's the key here. Like, the Knights are still free, but at this point, I feel like Miguel is just gonna be able to deal with the rest of the Knights on the island. There is a villager, though, from ACCM still here. This sneaky villager is making another stable. ACCM is being super annoying with those villagers, and really Khmer is just so good for this landing because they can just jump into house and keep those villagers alive. The Knights could still hit the eco of Miguel, who is gonna have to deal with this one somehow. Like, he needs some more Knights himself, or needs some monks to get some conversion. Miguel is losing quite a lot of villagers, but the problem for Bakhti is that he needs to get into Imperial himself. He's on the way, but it still takes quite a lot of time for him. Gets careening, something that Dogao doesn't have. And when we get to Caravels and when we get to Shipwright for Portuguese, they should be better than Vikings. So this is the moment for Vikings to really shine. And ACCM is going into Imperial himself. Miguel floating a lot of wood over here. ACCM up with 2 stables, now making light cav. Just keep spamming that light cav, says ACCM. Dogao still has no vision on this one. And the light cav will be picking off the monks as well, so it's going to be hard defense right now for Miguel to pull off. But Bakhti is gonna lose his docks, or at least some of them. He's gonna be able to rebuild them at the back, but it takes time and it delays him quite massively. And there is a good demo hit from Bakhti over there. Another good demo hit. But yeah, those docks going down are actually pretty painful for Vietnam. A castle, defensive castle from ACCM over here. He could actually try to get another dock in here. Galleons are out once again for Dogao. I love this one. He's splitting up the Galleons on the shoreline to deny space from their opponents. Just harass the eco as much as possible. Last player to pick up into Imperial is Miguel. But look at this flood of units, and this could completely cripple the eco of Dogao. We could see an eco series here, because Brazil is just struggling to clean this one up, and now this is awful for Dogao. Because Bakhti, he's gonna be able to get the upgrades in. He's behind in ship numbers right now. In fact, it's 2-1, but can Dogao keep adding ships when there is light cav rampaging his eco? Like, Miguel needs to clean this one up ASAP. Like, super ASAP. Because they can't afford Dogao to lose this much. In fact, Dogao is dropping to 84 villagers. Oh, that's a disaster. Disaster for Brazil. And now it's Galleons. Now, keep in mind, these guys have extra HP and they also have careening. Now, that's something that Dogao also has. but Dogao still has better numbers, and that's something to pay attention for. It's double the ship numbers. Dogao lost a lot of eco, but for now he's safe. I think there are some massive overchops here as well. There was a hole the whole time here. The whole time there was a hole here. And where is Miguel? That's my question. Miguel, where are you at? Miguel is going for fast fires. So I guess they want to swing the battle back in the favor of Brazil by going for fast fires. It could work because now there is spearmen on the field. I feel like if Miguel can get enough spears in here to support the rams, it could be fine. I mean, pikemen would be kind of essential now because light calves with +2 defense will just eat the spearmen, and this ram isn't really doing much. Villager can just repair or rebuild. Big water engagement over here. Remember that the numbers aren't really there for Bhakti just yet, and there is a lot of fast fire ships coming in to soak up some damage as well. Coinage for Bhakti, interestingly, and not ACCM, Bhakti is losing a lot of ships over here. So on land they are still harassing Dogao, but Dogao might still be fine. Like, Dogao seems to be able to consistently keep producing the ships here. ACCM's castle isn't actually able to range those ships, and now Pikeman is on the way for Miguel, who is taking a huge beating over here. Both of the Brazilians have a much worse eco than the Vietnamese players right now, but does it matter when you lose complete control over the water? And if you lose water, you're gonna lose this gold mine, for example. You're gonna lose this wood line. It's about space game as well. Pikeman is in very soon for Miguel. He's gonna go for 4 pikes, but he's down to 82 villagers. Very, very low villager count right now for Miguel. But Dogao is safe, and that could be enough. It could be enough for Dogao to be safe, or at least he's more or less safe, you can say that. Bhakti down to 90 villagers himself, though, because he's losing villagers on his woodline. Demo pops out, gets a good demo hit in over there. Bhakti still with galleons, no longboats on the field. Now pikemen are in for Miguel, but Miguel is dropping down to 68 villagers. Dogao is at 87. If this castle goes up, I feel like Miguel is more or less going to be safe, but that is a huge, huge, huge if. And ACCM is getting the maximum out of this landing, I believe. If this game is won by Vietnam, it's all ACCM, because Bhakti got outplayed very, very badly on water. It's not necessarily his fault, because Dogao is a great player, but what actually swing the battle in the favor of Vietnam, now that they have the score lead, is that ACCM has been so annoying. He never gave up on his landing, and he made like 10 stables on the opponent's island. Look at that. Dogao is gonna have to make a defensive castle, but rams are already on the way. And meanwhile, behind this one, Bhakti's eco is pretty much untouched. He's trying to get a castle up on the field. He was getting 1v2'd on water. He wasn't getting 1v2'd at all. He wasn't getting 1v2'd at all. I mean, Miguel didn't make a single ship. Miguel went for stable and spearmen from the beginning. He made like 2 fire galleys. That's not even close. That's not even close. It was the galley numbers. If you just look at the galley numbers right now, Dogao has 61 ships, 25 for Bhakti. And remember that Portuguese ships are even cheaper over here. Eco was better for Bhakti, or for Dogao. And ship numbers were also better, but how do you stop this? You don't. You don't. And as I said so many times, this is what the landing has to achieve. Knock out the opponent's water player. It doesn't matter how much Miguel loses, as long as he's not on water. It matters how much Dogao loses, and the number for that is huge. 140 villagers, ACCM alone has that much, and this is the moment where ACCM, all he needs to do is just sling his gold and wood to Bhakti. Because they could win this game right here, right now. Dogao's eco is just collapsing completely. A few spearmen are coming in here to help from Miguel, but Miguel himself is kinda dead. And like, desperately trying to get some barracks out so he fights the spear, or the light cav. At some point, Bhakti is gonna have the ship numbers, and we are going to play game number 5 over here. We are going to play game number 5 if this continues. Because, indeed, Brazil taps out, and really, it's ACCM carrying it in this one. The amount of damage that he managed to do with the landing was extraordinary. I didn't think he can do that much. I sincerely believed that after this landing gets cleaned up, he's done. And it's a bit of a mistake from Miguel. Miguel wanted to help Dogao so much when it wasn't needed. Look at this. Miguel tried to go for 6 docks. He went into him, but he was like, okay, we cleaned up the landing, and now I'm gonna go help Dogao. Dogao didn't need that help on water. What he needed is to make sure there is no sneaky villager over here. And there was. There was a sneaky villager, and the villager that actually just jumped in and out of houses was just so clutch. If you consider the fact that ACCM sent 3 villagers in total to the island of the Brazilians, and this is how much damage he could cause, it's brutal. And as much as ACCM and Bacti got outplayed in the first 2 games, Brazil gets clapped now in the last 2, and we are in for game number 5 on the home map of the Brazilians, and with a civ lineup I dislike for the Brazilians. ACCM, look at that KD. 202 kills. It's huge. This drop in the villager count. This drop in the villager count from Miguel and Dogao. And the fact that Bacti was never touched. Because Dogao had the much better eco compared to Bacti. But Dogao got pressured, and there was never a single moment where Bacti was under attack on his own island. There was not a single moment. And remember what I said at the beginning of the game. This is why it was so important that ACCM was closer to Dogao. Because with that, he was able to land closer to Dogao and pressure him primarily. So, final game. What happened? 140 villager Khmer Hussar spam from 5 stables on the island of the Brazilians. That's what happened, to summarize things. So, we're left with Britons and Slavs or Indians. If it's Britons and Indians, I dislike it. Indians, super overrated on Ghost Lake. Like, let's take a look at their Ghost Lake win rate. I'm legit curious. Indians, 41% win rate. Ghost Lake win rate is 29%. And it is completely justified. Because the lack of knights hurt them so badly. They cannot really deal with large amounts of archers in Castle Age, and that really shows. So, if they play Britons and Indians here, I'm going to be sad. Because it's overrated. Britons are amazing. Indians, no. Don't play Indians on Ghost Lake. You can see that there are some much better cavalry civs here. Like, of course, we're not counting like Huns with 1 game played. But like Cumans, for example, could have been very nice here. Cumans, not in the draft. So it would have been an option for Ghost Lake. Slavs, 1 out of 4, not convincing, but I feel like they're still better than the Indians. Don't play Indians on any map. Depends. I feel like the problem with Indians in 2v2 is that you are completely dependent on your teammate to kill the opponent's archers. The 1 extra pierce armor you get on your camels in Castle Age isn't enough to compensate for fighting against 30 crossbows. And your damage output to crossbows is so small that you can't kill the opponent's archers with your camels. That's the problem. Your opponent's knights will be able to run away from the crossbows, but you might need to help your teammate deal with the archers. That's the problem. You can't just say, okay, I'm gonna dive in on the archers because the opponent's cavalry is not here. You can't do it because you're just gonna lose a lot of camels. It's not necessarily about the pierce armor or the auto resistance. It's more about the damage output of the camels. And I have a big WTF sign right now on me. Look at this. These are the civs remaining for Vietnam. Persians, Chinese, Vietnamese. What they're using? Persians, Burmese. Burmese! Hello, it's not in the draft. ACCM picks Burmese and it's not in the draft. What's up with that? Robo didn't say anything about the draft being wrong or whatsoever. So I assume it's a good draft. By the way, Slavs Britons is I think the right decision from Brazil, but what is this? What is Burmese? And Caster Discord, everybody's asking. everybody, right in the moment they jump into the game, they're asking, what's up with Burmese? Because there was no sign that Burmese would be used here at all. It wasn't drafted. It just wasn't drafted. What time is it in Vietnam? Hard to say. Probably late. Probably past midnight. And considering that the spec delay aborted, it's going to be a restart, probably. And yep, they just... Back to even resigned immediately, and it's over. Now here's the question. Theoretically, by tournament rules, when the opponent picks the wrong civilization, it is the opponent's team that can select the civs from them. So if we follow the rulebook strictly, it should be Brazil selecting the civilization alongside Persians for Vietnam now. Now, I'm not sure if Brazil is going to do that. Maybe Brazil is going to say, okay, whatever, just pick your good civ. But they could very well say, okay, we want Chinese or Vietnamese for them. Because the thing is that it's a massive advantage now for Vietnam that they know it's Slavs and Britons in selecting the other civ. I feel like it could have been Chinese from Vietnam attempted. They just maybe ACM misclicked Chinese with Burmese. That's close enough in the alphabet to misclick it, right? I don't think it matters either between Chinese and or Vietnamese. I definitely don't think it matters that much. But it's rules, you know. It's rules. And indeed, I'm gonna quote Robo here from the rulebook. If a player incorrectly chooses a civilization that has been banned or has previously been played, the opposing team may choose their replacement civilization while still following any civilization rules. So that means that Brazil can now decide if they want to play against Chinese and Vietnamese. An unthinkable mistake by Team Vietnam here. I mean, Chinese and Vietnamese will be kind of similar here for the 2v2 setup, but I would love to see Chinese instead. Because I feel like Vietnamese is a little bit bigger of a counter to the Britons with Rattan Archers than Chinese are. But yeah, this could have been a grave mistake for Vietnam in the decider game. To make a mistake like this when you just triple check what civ you pick, because you don't want this to happen. You just don't want your opponent selecting civ for you because you screwed up the civ selection, right? This also brings in some additional time of waiting. There is so much idle time in between these games. It hurts. It really hurts that we have so much idle time in between games. Because, like, the problem here is that we are gonna have to wait the 5-minute spectator delay between these games. This would even be a lot of downtime with 2 games, or 2 minutes spec delay, but it's an awful lot with 5-minute spec delay. No sign of the game just yet, so I guess they're figuring out what's up. As I said, Brazil might say, okay, whatever, we're gonna accept whatever save you pick and just go on. That's completely possible. However, they could just say, okay, decide our game, you screwed it up. Now it's our chance to select your second save. Alright, I'm gonna take a bit of a water before we jump into this game because they apparently are still in the lobby. All right. Let's see what we have. No game just yet. So apparently we're playing lobby sim here. I guess it's our time to browse the stats then, because we're at a quite late stage of the tournament. Next weekend, we already have the semifinals on Saturday. Sunday we have the third place game, followed by the grand finals. So we have a pretty decent sample size. Now for these civilizations, let's see what we can have. So, most banned civilization was Khmer, followed by Saracens. So these are the two civs that players feel like they don't really want to play against. All Britain is also banned very frequently, is a surprise to me though, considering that they haven't been super amazing. They're a good civ, but them being sniped 13 times or banned 13 times is a lot less understandable than Saracens, because a lot of people are afraid of the Saracen market abuse. Same for Khmer. Most frequently sniped civilizations are Franks. No surprise about that for Arabia. Mayans, same thing as well. And also, if you combine bans and snipes, Khmer is still leading. You can take a look at the average draft priority, which is a super nice one to have. Franks being on top of the chart for Arabia, Khmer being on top of the chart, Mayans, and Britons. So you can see that basically the most banned / sniped civilizations are the ones that actually have a very, very high priority. Now, the interesting thing is that Chinese and Ethiopians are also picked very, very frequently and on very high on the draft boards, but they're banned a lot less frequently. So, that's basically the quick roundup of the stats here. I hope that we are gonna have a game. Not just yet. Oh man, there's so much downtime in between these games. I know I'm whining a lot about this, but if for me, it's actually pretty frustrating. Because, I mean, at this point, the best I can do is try to get some filling content, like looking at the stats. But it would be great if we didn't have 15 minutes of waiting in between each game. So, let's see. I actually want to check. Yeah, Khmer was only played once. On Team Islands. Khmer was only picked once, and that is this stat. This stat is wrong. I guess it's not updated yet. But it should be 100% if the other one was a win as well. But it was very, very rarely played, mostly because it's so frequently banned. It's so strong on other maps. But yeah, there is no statistics in this spreadsheet about the diversity of civs on certain maps. That would be a nice one to look at. Anyways, for now, we're just gonna wait. Still picking colors and whatnot. Yeah, it would be nice to know what's up. Because kind of no one knows anything is scenario here. Like, the main concern for me is that, like, I'm actually getting tired. It's a natural exhaustion from speaking a lot. Like, I've been doing this for 3.5 hours now. And, you know, I don't like these type of downtimes because I still need to kind of do something, talk, entertain, whatever. Even though I'm not good at these, but whatever. But it actually even decreases my stamina more. And there's a second series to cast today, which is going to be also super interesting. Norway versus Russia. Robo is typing in the caster's Discord, Brazil will choose the replacement civ, says Robo. So the final decision is that Brazil will choose the civilization for Vietnam for that. Just turn on the webcam and go get something to eat for a nice share stream. I don't have a webcam, so that's not gonna work. So, unfortunately, I can't turn on my webcam and just go AFK. But just, by the way, imagine if I just went AFK for 2 minutes, they would be in the game already. Like, that's how things work. If I go, like, if I sit here waiting when it starts, then it's not gonna start. If I would leave for 2 minutes, it would start immediately. Alright, so China or Vietnam is the second civilization for Team Vietnam. As I said, I would actually prefer to have the Chinese for... like, if I was Brazil and I had to select the opponent's civ here, I would say that I would go with Chinese. And the reason why is because I feel like Vietnam could actually be pretty dangerous once they get to Red Archers. It's not a huge difference between the two civs, but I feel like Chinese is like a general archer civ with good eco, whereas Vietnamese would give you Imperial Skirm in the long run. Vietnamese have a slightly weaker eco, but they're a lot more archer focused, extra HP on the archers, Red Archers available, Imperial Skirms available. If you just look at the army quality, the Vietnamese army in terms of archers is much better. Of course, Chinese have a lot more versatile cavalry, and Chinese have a good eco, but for an archer civilization role, Vietnamese seem to be a little bit better here for Vietnam. And because of that, if I was Brazil, I would say, okay, go play with Chinese. But I think of the poetry, if you best... Yeah, that's true though. That's a very, very true claim. Imagine if they said, okay, the Vietnamese players will play with the Vietnamese civ, and then you still win. But I don't think that's gonna happen. And the reason why, or at least not because of this thought process, the reason why is pretty simple. They know that what's at stake. Brazil was leading 2-0. They want to win this one. They don't want to let this slip out of their grasp. So they will just strictly go for what is better for them for their gameplay. That's it. By the way, speaking of, picking one of the civs for your opponent in a 2 versus 2 setup, there is a tournament that is just like that. It's called Tuples, and I happen to be the host of that. So in case you haven't seen the VODs from that, I definitely recommend checking out. It was August 2019 when that happened. Tuples tournament. You picked one civ for yourself and one civ for the opponent in a 2v2 setup. It was super fun to look at. Fun fact, that was on the old Vubli balance, which means that Khmer was the worst civ, and everybody started by giving Khmer to the opponent. Nowadays, Khmer is the most banned civ. So it's going to be super interesting to compare those statistics to nowadays statistics. It is just going to be brutal to compare those. And, well, maybe in 2021, we're gonna have a chance for another tournament like that. Who knows? Anyways, better late than never. Where's the lobby at? I don't see the lobby, what Robo said, so they might be rehosting. And I can't believe this. I can't see the lobby, but I see the caster's chat. And they picked Kumans now. Vietnam picked Kumans now. Or I assume they did, because the lobby is no longer up. I guess it was up for a second, and they immediately closed it and just... This is why the lobby didn't appear for me, because by the time I actually clicked refresh, they realized, oh boy, that sucks. Now, if... I'm not sure who picked Kumans. Because if they actually pick the Kumans and the... No, wait, no, that's probably not possible. Probably just misclick the Persians with... or Chinese with Kumans now. But according to Robo, Persians and Vietnamese is the plan. So it seems like Brazil is going to give the Vietnamese Civ to the Vietnamese team. Okay. So I guess we will try this once more. Apparently, we're going to see Persians and Vietnamese. Given that the Vietnamese team can actually click the civilization they plan to play, there is a lobby. Cross your fingers. It's magic. They actually managed to pick the appropriate civs. And I think they didn't set spectator delay now. So I'm just gonna ask on the caster Discord, but someone really has to get some coaching from how to host lobbies. Because now there might be no spectator delay. Here we are. We have this total disaster final game. This started out as an amazing series. With very intense games. Kinda ends in a total disaster now after Vietnam picked wrong civs twice, and Vietnamese is given to Team Vietnam by Brazil because by rule, if you pick the wrong civ, the opponent can select one for you. It's not really going to influence the game because Vietnamese are just as good as Chinese here for Team Vietnam. In fact, there is no guarantee that Vietnamese team wouldn't have picked Vietnamese anyways, so they probably get lucky here with this one. And indeed, they forgot the spec delay now. Okay, so I just had to tell on the casters Discord that I'm offering my services to coach professional players on how to host Age of Empires lobbies. Because I'm like, I can't even believe. I know it's a lot of stress and whatnot, but it's actually very funny to see that players that played tens of thousands of hours with this game still struggle to select the appropriate civ in a $30,000 tournament. It's like, what? Okay, so let's try to focus on the game. Dogao and Miguel doesn't have their restarts. Remember that they used it on Team Islands, and honestly, this is pretty bad for Dogao because this is a big opening on the front of his base. Now, your primary goal will always be at the front. That's how this map is scripted. So that's not something that you can influence, but this is still a quite open map for Dogao. It's technically volable, and the Drush FC with Britons here is more than legitimate. In fact, Britons and all the archer civs are usually Drush FC civs here. What I would love to see though, from the cavalry players, is also Drush FC cavalry, instead of going scouts, because the map is so volable that usually you can pull off a Drush FC with your scouts player as well, and you can see Bhakti. Bhakti doesn't care. In fact, he's not even going to Drush. He's just gonna go full vol and go for fast castle. And one of the reasons why you can do a nice fast castle here is because you can find some extra sheep in the middle, which means that you don't have to add that many farms while you are doing your fast castle. So you're gonna have a reasonable amount of food. Dogao with a very, very early Premier Drush over here. It's going to be a Premier Drush FC. Last time he went for the Drush. I'm also starting to lose my thoughts over here. So last time he went for a Drush, it was in Arabia, and it worked out so well for them. We'll see how it goes. Britons are gonna have the early advantage because they have the faster working archer ranges. They can drop additional TCs because they're cheap. Despite going for a Drush FC, probably you can squeeze in at least one TC, especially if you click up at like 29-ish villagers. And Last but not least, you have faster working archer ranges, which means you can mass your archers a little bit better. But once Vietnamese get to the thumb ring, that should be a massive advantage for the Vietnamese team. And yeah, this is how Ghost Lake is played out in 2020 in random map. Everybody full wall naked fast castle, with the exception of Miguel, who might be going for scouts, and if he's going for scouts, it's going to be a total disaster. Because his scouts will achieve nothing, and he is going scouts. Disliking it so badly. By the time Miguel arrives here with the scouts, Bacti is gonna have like 5 layers of walls, same thing for ACCM. If you have seen the Ghost Lake games in this tournament, 99% of the cases, you go fast castle into knights as well. Because the problem is that now Miguel is gonna be delayed going into Castle Age. Honestly, the best thing he could do, and that might be better than the fast castle for Bacti, although Bacti is going up as well. Bacti is going scouts. Okay. That is not something I expected, not gonna lie. Going 19 pop scouts with this much walling? What is this from Bacti? I don't think he's gonna have the wood for barracks. So, if it's 19 pop up and no barracks, do you know what this is? Boom into Castle Age. And this is what I was thinking as well for Miguel, that the fast feudal here might be misleading, thinking that this could be scouts play, but considering that Miguel isn't doing a barracks either, this is probably just a more refined way of playing this, and just having a fast castle up over here. Nice microphone by the Vietnamese team. Kill Dogao's scouts, and they keep their own scouts alive, which is so important for gathering information, because there was a rush as well from ACCM. So, as you see, there is going to be basically no difference between the fast castle knights play and doing this, because here you go for double bidax boso, you're gonna have a slightly stronger eco, and you can just add the villagers to food, not make a single scout, and just go up to Castle Age. Same thing here for Miguel. Might be slightly more efficient than the fast castle play. This is something that I think MBA did a lot on Arena in either Clown Cup or Masters of the Circus. Because it turns out that your eco, like your uptime is going to be like a minute later than the fast castle uptime, but your eco is going to be a lot better. Like in fact, your eco doing this is going to be comparable to you going from scouts to knights, and if you remember that build order, from scouts to knights you should be able to drop 2 TCs in Castle Age when you're reaching it. So your eco is much stronger with this play than it is with a naked FC into knights. That being said, we are gonna have the first archer player clicking up into Feudal Age over here, Dogao with Britons. Remember, Britons get a sheep gathering bonus, so being able to grab some additional sheep is immensely helpful over here. And that's why Dogao is able to pull off what is a 27 villager Drush FC. Nice and fast, even without pushing in deer, I believe. This might be Dogao's deer, and that's very far away, and he will still be able to pull it off relatively easily. Anyways, deer is being lamed over here by Dogao. He has nothing else to do with his own militia. And now I guess he's just gonna try to knock on the door of Bacti, try to get one villager to go and repair. That's the best thing you can do. Because eventually you're gonna have to repair this, so you have to pull a villager, which is some idle time. Best thing you can do. Not a big fan of Miguel's little fort over here, but it's not really a big deal right now. But he's gonna have to be aggressive expanding it for now. Anyways, up to feudal is gonna be Dogao. I don't see the villagers ready to make the archer ranges. Yeah, here it is. One range, and should be a blacksmith over there. Nicely executed Drush FC from Dogao. And if you look at the ACCM, because it doesn't have the sheep gathering bonus, his Drush FC is going to be one villager later. Did Dogao go for Loom? That's the question. Yes, he did. Same for ACCM. So it's really just a pure one villager difference in between the two players in this one. Blacksmith for ACCM coming in over here. And archer range just as well. But the faster working ranges for Britons can really be helpful, just massing the early archers. So, barracks up for Miguel, and you can see that this is basically gonna be, by the time he gets the golden food to click up into the next stage, he's gonna drop a stable, he's gonna drop a blacksmith. He's a little bit low on wood to do that, but yeah, that could be the only problem, that I think he's gonna have the resources to click up faster than he actually is able to finish the stable. Anyways, Bhakti hasn't clicked up just yet. First to click up to Castle Age is going to be Dogao, shortly followed by the other archer player, ACCM. By the way, they flipped colors. That's also interesting to look at. So far, Bhakti has been green and ACCM have been blue. This time, it's ACCM being green and the Bhakti being blue. Alright, so market, interestingly, for Bhakti, that's a debatable decision. Because he's gonna need the stable, and he's gonna need a blacksmith anyways. I don't like this. First of all, he was late with the stable. Also not close to the walls. The reason why it's not close to the walls is because he wants to click up as soon as possible, so he doesn't have time to walk from here to here and place it over there, but that's actually a pretty bad spot for that stable, because you want it over here by the walls. And Castle Age is there, but you are still gonna have to make a blacksmith, so what was the point of making a market? You don't get anything from the market here, you need a blacksmith, because you will need the upgrades, and that's exactly what Miguel went for. He's gonna go do Bloodlines on the way towards Castle Age. Scale Barding is probably gonna come in relatively soon. And in the meanwhile, militias are still being a non-factor. Archers on the way for Dogao with Britons, double ranges for both players. Crossbow on the way, but Dogao forgot about fletching. Dogao has fletching, okay. I didn't see that for a brief moment. But he isn't really gonna be able to squeeze in Botkin just yet. It's not like he needs it. But here come the crossbows. Now the tricky thing is that Persian knights will have the extra attack against archers, so they have to be really careful engaging that. And see, Bhakti now has to go for a blacksmith. Why is this a problem? Because he's 60% towards Castle Age, and by the time this goes up and he gets scale barding in, he's gonna be in Castle Age, and he would need to get chain barding right away, so he can just get those upgrades in as fast as possible. Whereas if you look at Miguel, he's gonna have scale barding ready by the time he arrives to castle, going to go 2 knights and immediate chain barding here. Crossbows are in here for now. This is not a fight that ACM can engage, although ACM does have his crossbows inside here. And remember, ACM has the extra HP on those crossbows. Britain crossbows trying to get some vulture picks over here with the extra range that they have. Now it's 8 range, only 7 for ACCM's crossbows. And honestly, the best way to play this might have been to go towards Bhakti with the crossbows, because then ACCM is gonna have to catch up and chase. Right now you're pressuring ACCM, he's just gonna chill and eventually get the crossbows out. The 42 HP against the 35 actually is somewhat impactful, but the knights are coming towards ACCM as well over here. No +2 defense by Miguel just yet, adds TC number 2. You really need that +2 defense if you want to engage against the archers. But speaking of engaging against the archers, it seems like ACCM is not confident microing this, because the Britons will have the extra range, so you don't really want to just dive in. And the extra range here would be extremely helpful, because they're denying a lot of farming space from ACCM. ACCM still has bad back gold, so this isn't a thing. But being able to deny the farms is actually important, because that delays ACCM for getting upgrades. I'm not even sure if ACM has Botkin. ACM has Botkin. Over here, number 2, you isolate the knights from Bhakti in the middle of the field, which is also super helpful. +2 defense is in for Miguel, not so much for Bhakti. See, Bhakti is going to be late with the +2 defense because, well, partially because he doesn't have resources to do that, but partially because he also was late with that blacksmith in my perspective. There is going to be University coming in here from ACCM, but look at all the idle time on his eco. And that's gonna show. That's really going to show. And remember that Britons will have the cheaper TCs. They can go for 2 TCs here as well. ACCM will be staying on 1 town center. 2 TCs for Miguel with Slavic farming. 2 TCs for Bhakti with the power of the Persian TCs. And that's actually a very, very bad sign for Vietnam. They lose the archer range, because now ACCM is not gonna have the production, and you have to question if this is something that Vietnam should have engaged. If Bhakti had the +2 defense, this would have been a must engage. With this, it's a little bit questionable, but I feel like they're sacrificing the production of ACCM, and we could just see this snowballing out of control very fast. ACCM is not going to have any production. He's going to have ballistics for all the 14 crossbows he has. Now it's 18 over here from Dogao. He's going to have a steady flow of reinforcements coming in. And those knights aren't really going to stop those crossbows with +1 defense only. Not sure how Bhakti still doesn't have +2 defense, because he should be able to easily put that in. I mean, with a standard Scouts build order, you should be able to grab +2 defense. Here you didn't even have to make Scouts, so it's basically the same build. You should have +2 defense by now, especially in 2v2 where you know that you might need to engage your opponent's archers. And this is super costly for ACCM. He needs to rebuild the archer ranges. It delays his army expansion. So Dogao is going to have a nice military advantage here. Number 2, Dogao is already on 2 TCs. ACCM can forget about the second TC for some time. And now the crossbows are caught off guard. They were lured outside over here. I think this was a huge debate. The good surround is there. This might be over here. ACCM is going to lose all the crossbows, and this is the moment when you go for Bhakti. This is the moment where you go for Bhakti because there is going to be no crossbow support. I love this move from Miguel Dogao. I think they started moving towards Bhakti, and ACCM was like ACCM had made the right decision. He was like, okay, they are going for my teammate, I have to go and help. He moved out of his base, but then he just got surrounded by knights, and it was an easy cleanup. ACCM with 3 kills and 22 deaths. 22! Dogao with 18 and 3. And he's on 2 TCs at 58 eco. Bhakti is 58 as well. Miguel only has 48, which is interesting. Apparently Miguel, yeah, 16 villagers on food, even with Slavs, isn't enough to keep 3 stables and 2 TCs working. That's just not enough for Miguel. Miguel needs to add a lot more villagers on food here. I'm not sure why he's going for the 4 stables. He needs to do the math here. He can't make all 4 of those stables work. It would be better to just keep the TCs work and keep adding knights on 3 stables, but they feel confident that they want to dive in here. Here come the knights. Taking a fight close to the TC might not be ideal, but there is crossbows supporting, and this might be enough for Brazil to push into the base of Bhakti. ACCM has 11 military right now, and the crossbows will run right past the town center, straight into the farming eco, straight into the only accessible gold mine of Bhakti. Bhakti with no gold income, this game might be over here. This game might be over because Bhakti is gonna have no military to defend against this one. You can't fit as many villagers as you want into the TC, and that's gonna be massive amounts of villagers dying. Bhakti's eco is in ruins, and ACCM isn't going to be able to carry this one alone with 48 villagers. Nicely done by Brazil, and really, it is really debatable. How is it possible that Bhakti delayed +2 defense by that much? And it's debatable if it was really the good decision there to keep the army of ACCM alive and lose the archer ranges, because losing the archer ranges meant that ACCM got outnumbered. Bhakti taps out, and with that, Brazil narrowly edges out a victory over here in 2v2 World Cup quarterfinals. They went up by 2 games, very convincing 2 games in fact, by Brazil, but then game number 3 and 4 were a little bit more potato. Game number 5, they played pretty much meta, but they executed it well, and that's the key here. Dogao with 29 kills, 6 deaths, Miguel 43 to 12. That is looking awful for ACM. It's not his fault necessarily. It's hard to say who to blame here, and I don't think I should blame either of the players. ACCM did the right thing moving out of his base, trying to help his teammate, but he got surrounded with the knights, and that was an absolute slaughter from that point on. But yeah, it is interesting to see that Bhakti didn't have the +2 defense. And maybe if he doesn't go for the market, this could have been a different thing. He went for the market, but I don't think he gained anything from the market. And if this is the case, I assume that this is not a build that the Bhakti practiced that much. Because if you practice and think this build over, then you would actually realize that you were upping with the stable and blacksmiths, because you are not going to need the stable to make knights, you're going to need the blacksmith to get the upgrades. You don't need the market. It's not like Arena. So with that, Brazil gets into the semifinals over here. Congratulations to them. This was a long and exhausting series, but it's a well-deserved win for Brazil, especially for the comeback they made on Scandinavia. I feel like they deserved it, although honestly, the last 2 games for Vietnam, so like game number 3 and game number 4, were also super convincing. So this is one of those matchups where I think either team would have deserved the victory. It is in the hands of Brazil though, so Brazil gets into the semifinals.